Call the meeting to order. This is the City of Frankfort Board of Commissioners regular May voting meeting. It is 5 p.m. Today is May 22nd, and I'll ask our clerk to call for the roll.
Commissioner Thompson.
Present.
Commissioner
Glad
Unger.
you could join us.
Present.
Commissioner Waldridge.
Present.
Commissioner May.
Present.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Present, and we'll begin. We will not have an invocation tonight, it looks like. But we can go to the Pledge of Allegiance if everybody will rise.
Sure thing.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda, ceremonial and recognition. Anybody would like to add anything? Yes, Commissioner Waldridge.
I would just like to start by saying a great job and great communication by all parties and all agencies that were represented during the transportation emergency. I truly appreciate everyone coming. There's always things that we can do differently and that we can do better, and that's why there's debriefings after. But I just want to applaud everyone for being on the scene as soon as possible and being there. And I'm so grateful that it was not an emergency, that we thought it was, and that everyone's safe. And I'm glad that everyone was making it back home to their families, and all those working that put their life on the line made it back home safely as well. So just very appreciative of that day, as I'm sure we all are, and that our community just had a hiccup, and we're going to continue moving forward and making our processes better as moving forward with all agencies. So thank you so much. Another is that I'm super excited about all of the young men and women that are graduating from all of our high schools in the upcoming weeks. I am so proud of so many of them. It's so many of them I can't even name that have gotten scholarships to Center College, to UK, all, as far as California. And so I'm super excited about all of these young men and women who are going to go out to have more education and hopefully come back to Frankfort and do some great things. So congratulations on all of your graduations. Even at Kentucky State University, they graduated about a week or so ago. And I'm just super excited for everyone, and that we have a lot of smart men and women around here that are getting ready to go out in the world. So super excited. So congratulations, parents. You've done a great job raising these children.
Thank you, Commissioner Waldridge. Any others?
I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Waldridge said. It was obviously a nerve-wracking few hours for not just the city officials, but also for their families and for all of the folks who work and travel in downtown. I can't thank the folks enough who are sworn to protect us and are willing to do whatever it takes to protect their fellow man, and we all know that there is no greater love than that. So thank you. Also just want to reiterate what you said about the folks graduating. I have one graduating from high school. She is acts like her daddy, looks like her mama. She is a wonderful kid who will be attending the University of Louisville. I know.
That hurt you to say that?
It did a little bit. But I'm very proud of her. She's in the honors program there, and so we are looking forward to great things from her. So thank you, and congratulations, Olivia.
She looked absolutely beautiful for prom.
Thank you.
Any others? Not, we'll go back to invocation. We have Reverend Les Whitlock with us tonight from 1 Corinthian Church. Would you like to come up? And welcome. Good to see you again.
May we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, which art in heaven, Lord, I thank you for allowing each and every one of us to come together on this beautiful day that you have made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, you know best the great responsibility that's placed on all those whom you have allowed to represent your people on this board of city commissioners. Heavenly Father, I pray that you will give them clarity of mind, patience, and wisdom to execute their specific duties. Heavenly Father, I pray that you guide this board as they work to move this city forward in the midst of these unprecedented times that continue to challenge us and often overwhelm us. Lord, we all come this evening asking you to help us to lean, as you have said in your word, to lean not on our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge you, so that you will direct our path. Heavenly Father, I pray this evening that you allow your spirit to fall afresh upon the mayor and each city commissioner in order that they may find common ground on the issues they are challenged to handle. Lord, as they do your will, I pray that you bind them together in peace and harmony. Allow their decision to be made with the integrity needed in the important leadership position they hold. Most of all, Heavenly Father, help this city board of commissioners to forget those things which are behind and reach forth into those things which are before and press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Forgive us of our sins. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Start. Okay. Now move on to citizens' comments, if we have a couple in the audience. Thank you, Reverend. Okay, we have one. All right, and we have Adam Swigert. Did I say that right? You're welcome, Swigert. You're welcome to approach the microphone here and just state your name, and we do limit comments to 5 minutes.
Sure.
We'll let you know. We'll give you
Thank you.
a warning.
My name is Adam Zwiggett, and up until today, I was a resident at the Simon House, which has had an unfortunate incident. I wanted to come say there are a lot of people that were trying to start over and make a better life. Keely Huffman, Gabe Mapp, Justin Hudson, Michael Crawford, Tim Holt, John Redmond, and myself, Adam Zwiggett, we all work because that's a popular misconception. There are 5 individuals who I didn't get their name because they're on SSDI, but if you will, could it be Kelly May, Miss Waldridge, Laura Haig, Miss Maxwell? And if that was the case, would it matter that there was a funding problem out of control, or would you look for your community and your leadership to make a difference? There are 3 other individuals that were looking for part-time and full-time jobs, who now don't have a place to sleep, who now don't have a place to bathe. Really hard to go to work when you can't keep up with yourself. But that's the position that we find ourselves today. I know that it's not specifically a city problem or a county problem, but I would ask you to remember that every homeless person has a name, and every homeless person is a citizen of Kentucky. And every single homeless person in Frankfort is a resident of Frankfort, either permanently or temporarily. Every story is completely different. Mine, I have child support, which means that my $14 an hour job becomes $9 an hour. I don't qualify for Section 8 or housing assistance from the VA because I make $14 an hour. Because child support is subtracted against my gross, but all benefits and resources are calculated on gross. Also, the harder I work, the more I make, the higher my payment. There are story after story after story. Some people have legal problems, some people have drug problems, some people can't work. Some people are on fixed incomes. It's not a matter of what got people in this position. Just like COVID, we learned all of a sudden sometimes you can be out of a job and living with nothing in savings and going, please, is there anyone or any community or any city that can help us? And that's why I'm here today, to remind the mayor, with all respect, and the council, again, with all respect, that each homeless person has a name. They're not just someone sitting on a bench somewhere outside when it's 100 degrees. They're someone with a name, and they are a citizen and resident of the community that we all live in. Mr. Mayor, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? Now we're going to consider a motion to go into executive session.
Well, I'll make a motion, we go into executive session per KRS 61.810, proposed litigation on behalf on the city, and 61.810-1B, deliberations on the future acquisition of real property, both related to condemnation for sewer easement acquisition. Action may be taken in open session.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to go into executive session. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll now go into executive session. And you all can return when we're finished. Okay. Coming out of closed session, we have a resolution of the City of Frankfort authorizing the filing of condemnation actions in accordance with the provisions of the Eminent Domain Act of Kentucky.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Walters, second. Any discussion on this action item? If none, I'll ask our clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and that motion carries. Okay, we'll now go to the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 1, the minutes from the work session on April 10th, 2023, and from the regular meeting on April 24th, 2023. Item number 2, staff is requesting authorization for the mayor to sign a master agreement with Invisio for training and software for strategic planning, monitoring, and reporting. Since the strategic plan was adopted, staff has been using kind of a large, unwieldy Google Doc to track progress. And we investigated 2 different softwares and determined Invisio would work best, not only for tracking, but particularly for reporting. There's a great dashboard, great access for citizens to keep track on how we're implementing our strategic plan. We negotiated a lower price of an annual $17,500 annual price with a $24.99 one-time startup fee and training fee for a total price of $54,999, and this agreement is good for 3 years. Item number 2, staff is requesting the Board of Commissioners approval to pay Spyglass for an audit of all cell phones and air cards to remove unused lines and to save money. This was completed once before in 2010. Spyglass charges are 1 year's worth of savings for the cost of this, which totaled $85,149. The city will see the savings starting the next fiscal year, and this will require a budget amendment. Item number 4, staff is requesting to purchase one 2023 Ford Explorer XLT 4x4 for the police department. The city received $47,447 from insurance for a total police car, as well as insurance funds for upfitting. Total cost for this new vehicle is $46,332. So we are realizing some savings from going to a marked to an unmarked car. This will require a budget amendment. Item number 5, staff is requesting approval of amendment number 1 in the amount of $55,525 to the construction contract with Herrick Company to pay for the replacement of non-working return activated sludge or RAS valves. Item number 6, staff is requesting the Board of Commissioners to accept FEMA disaster funding of $268,000 with a $30,000 match from the city. This funding was provided to partially replace lost riprap from the riverbank at Riverview Park from multiple storms. These funds were budgeted in the stormwater account previously. Staff will return at a later date to discuss the needs of the entire riverbank at Riverview Park, because as this funding only funds a portion of the needs that are there. Item number 7, staff is seeking approval to award the 2023-2024 unit price contract for roadway restoration, having problems tonight, to Randall Davies Construction Company. This contract is for repairing asphalt due to utility cuts and is 100% reimbursed by the entities doing the utility cuts. Item number 8, staff is requesting authorization to purchase office furniture for the new transit center. from Schools Incorporated for a total of $100,656. This will be 100% reimbursed from grant funds through KYTC. Item number 9, personnel actions. We are accepting the appointment of Kenton Bottoms in the Planning Department on May 9th, 2023 as a neighborhood inspector. We are accepting the appointment of Benji Clem in the Sewer Department on May 9th, 2023 as a plant operator. We're also accepting the appointment of Derek Klein in Public Works Solid Waste, May 9th, 2023 as a solid waste tech. Accepting the appointment of Josh Burnett in Public Works Solid Waste on May 9th, 2023 as a solid waste tech. Also the appointment of Antonio Gray in Public Works and Streets on May 23rd, 2023 as a streets tech. Also the appointment of Tyler Garrett in the E911 Police, May 16th, 2023 as a telecommunicator 1. We're also accepting the retirement of Michael Hawkinsmith of Parks and Rec Department, May 31st, 2023 as the Parks and Rec Deputy Director, an authorized payout of accrued leave. We're accepting the transfer of Daniel Kirk from the Public Works Solid Waste Department on May 9th, 2023 to being Senior Tech Streets to Senior Tech in Solid Waste. We're also accepting the resignation of Amanda Livesey in the Fire EMS on May 20th, 2023 as a firefighter 2. We're accepting the resignation of Michael Martin in the Police Department on May 31st, 2023 as Patrol Officer 2, an authorized payout of accrued leave. And also accepting the resignation of Kim Wainscott in the Finance Department on May 18th, 2023 as License Fee Administrator, and authorized payout of accrued leave.
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve the consent calendar. Second?
Oh, yes, because I have discussion.
Second by
Yes.
Commissioner Walters.
Yes, for discussion.
Any discussion on this consent calendar?
Yes, so, excuse
If
me.
we are, I'm sorry to interrupt, if we are going to, I'm so sorry. If we are
Do we
going,
need
if
to
we're gonna
move something?
discuss, let's move it to.
Yeah, do we need to move any of these items off the consent calendar?
To action.
I have one question.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's really discussion, but,
Go ahead.
okay, great. So, in the police vehicles, I know that's an amendment there, the budget amendment.
Right.
So is that gonna be part of what they were requesting in the budget, or is this actually amendment on top of that?
It's
That's gonna be
separate.
more.
It's
So it's
separate from
gonna
that.
be another expense for that?
Yes.
Okay,
But we actually, we've saved money off of it.
Yeah.
Because it's a lesser price, but we had to do a
because
budget.
it's unmarked.
Yeah,
But I just wanted to make sure that's still gonna be added on to what they were still requesting,
it's,
because
yeah,
it's an amendment for this budget,
this
for
budget,
this finish up.
this
Okay.
fiscal year.
Anyone else? If none, I'll ask the Madam Clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes, and I would like to congratulate Mike Hawkinsmith on his retirement.
Many years of service.
Yep.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Consent calendar is adopted.
Mayor.
Commissioner Walters?
I just have one comment in regards to number 9, since we've already voted, it's nothing. But number 9, where our personnel actions taken forward, I'd just like to make the comment to make sure that we are performing exit interviews for anyone that is resigning or leaving their positions, that we do them in a timely manner, and to make sure that all appropriate things are turned in a timely manner before they're dismissed from the city or leave the city for whatever reason, that we have their key fob and things of that nature, and it needs to be timely, and it needs to be written in our handbook on what day or how many days before they leave that that's done. Yep. That it's done in a timely manner. Thank you.
Okay, action item number 1, second reading.
An ordinance accepting a portion of West Ridge Drive as a public street. This ordinance officially accepts the dedication of that portion of West Ridge Drive between US 127 South and Vandalay Drive for public use and maintenance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on this ordinance? Seeing none or hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Action item number 2.
Oh.
Just for me to read it.
Yes, just the
Okay.
title.
Resolution approving and authorizing an assistance agreement between the City of Frankfort, Kentucky and the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority to provide up to $3,884,100 of loan funds for wastewater system improvements for the following project. A 23-012 Willow Pump Station Force Main Redirection.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt this resolution. Is there any discussion?
And this is for our East Frankfort Interceptor project, which is $15 million, pretty large project.
Is that Shinkle Lane area or is that different interceptor?
Different interceptor.
Okay. All right, no other discussion? Clerk, will you call for a vote, please?
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldron,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and that motion carries. Action item number 3, a resolution of the City of Frankfort accepting grant towards the Miami Trail Project, KIA loan number 22CWS012, approving the grant assistance agreement, authorizing the amendment of the City of Frankfort's annual budget, and authorizing a representative to sign all related documents.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just to let everyone know, this grant is a total for $782,711, and this is part of the second round of clean water funding that came out of, from COVID, from the pandemic funding. The total project's about $3.3 million.
Madam Clerk, call for a vote.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldron,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, motion carries. Action item number 4, Fort Hill House Surplus Order.
Yes, staff is seeking approval to surplus the very old, the very dilapidated employee house on Fort Hill. Just want to make clarification, we're not talking Sullivan House. This is a very old modular house that needs to be removed.
Are we sure we don't need to save it for something historic?
No, nope.
Motion to approve.
We need housing. Yeah, a motion to approve, and we have a second?
Yes,
Yeah.
Lisa seconded.
Second, Commissioner Unger.
Mhm.
Any discussion?
Commissioner Hunter, sorry.
Okay, seeing none, I'll ask clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldron,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and that motion carries. Action item number 5, a resolution permitting reimbursement of 1% occupational tax license fee on salaries associated with the expanding operation of Investors Heritage Life Insurance Company or any subsequent assignees or approved affiliates thereof, pursuant to KRS Chapter 154, Subchapter 32, as part of its application for incentives under the Kentucky Business Investment Program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, will you call for a vote, please?
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldron,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and that motion carries.
Sorry.
And now we'll move to action item number 6, which is fiscal year 2024 budget decisions.
Yes.
And I'll turn this over.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This last action item is on the fiscal year 24 proposed budget. The city has held 2 public budget meetings on May 8th and May 15th, so directors could present their requested budgets. As we all know, there's good news in that we recently just realized the third quarter fiscal year 23 revenues, and the finance department has revised the operating budget deficit because we do have projecting an increase in revenue. The operating budget deficit, it will go down from 1.9 million to approximately $900,000. The capital budget requests still total 3.8 million, although the staff has made recommendations to defer some, so it'd be approximately 2.8 million. Thus, a still potential 3.8 to $4.8 million deficit. Staff has made some cuts and adjustments, but the remaining cuts, changes, and additions are all policy related and thus have been listed on the agenda. In addition, we have added budget decisions and requests based on the requests from commissioners and their individual budget decisions. These votes are necessary so we can implement the will of the board and prepare a final budget for first reading on June 12th.
How are you gonna do this? Who's gonna lead this?
We'll pull it up.
I can bring it to you.
Okay. Or I can come down and. Alicia, you're the dynamic duo. Okay. So, again, these budget items are from requests from the commissioners from their individual budget meetings. Various policy decisions, there's some on staffing that we've discussed in the previous budget meetings, on the COLA, the capital budget, and possible revenue increase. So first item is restore selective staff and commission travel. And I thought at this point, I know we've all discussed this. If you want to make a vote, we can vote right. You can vote right away, or if you'd like additional discussion, because we're here to answer any questions, that's helpful. So $6,000 for staff, $8,500 for the commission.
Well, do we wanna,
Sorry.
we just wanna do a motion on each one of these?
Right.
And then discussion.
Right, and if you want to make a different motion, maybe one and not the other, maybe just for staff, not the commission, or both, yes, I would encourage you all to vote. We present it this way for the different options.
Okay, yes.
I
Sorry,
would-
Commissioner Unger had a question.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was
No, no,
just
no.
gonna start making motions.
Okay.
So tell
I
me
was
when
like,
you're ready.
Yeah.
She can make a motion.
All right. So you wanna make a motion to approve it as is right here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
and then we have a second.
hold on. You're
I was
making
gonna-
a
I was gonna-
motion
for all.
for both, that you want to keep it at that. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to agree, because I think in our last meeting, we talked about eliminating this. It's not a huge amount, but I definitely want to take serious that we want to keep staff up to date on any new processes and things, because we don't want things to slide through. And the commission, we do have pertinent meetings that we do need, and we also change every 2 years, meaning this could affect the next coming in commissioners or anything of that nature. We want to make sure that we continue moving forward, so. I don't think it's a lot to worry with, so I'll give her a second.
Okay,
Your-
a motion and a second to approve
Yes.
this. Any discussion
That was
on
in
the
a
travel?
second, sorry.
I would have allowed the staff costs and cut the commission costs, if not totally, to significant, maybe half. I think, as Commissioner Waldridge said a couple meetings ago, all of us have kind of pitched in. We got to go places, and not turning in receipts and things like that because things are a little tight. I think it's fine to set it aside. I just want it to be very clear that
Yeah.
we are making a commitment that we
Yes.
we will not abuse that or
Abuse,
just
yes.
or just accept that it's going to be there. There are times when the mayor needs to fly someplace to DC to make sure that he can shake the right hands and kiss the right babies, and that's needed. I understand that, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we're gonna pull our weight on this and make sure that we're not taking advantage of the situation.
Definitely, I
Yes,
agree.
Commissioner Unger?
And I definitely I made the motion to approve all, but I also wanted to make sure that sanitation was allowed to go to the rodeo again, because
Yes.
we always win awards, and it's a morale boost for
It
them.
is.
And so when I heard that, I just,
Yep, it's a hard,
yeah.
And just because we budget it doesn't mean we're gonna use it all.
we gotta use it all.
Yeah, we don't have to
Correct.
use it all, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, well, any other on this one? We're taking a voice vote.
You can do voice vote,
All
yeah.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No,
All right, this,
Great.
that carries.
Keeping track.
Next up, to maintain or reduce the KCDC funding of $85,000. We also have a staff recommendation that this should be taken out of subsidies, and it should be its own separate line item.
I would definitely, does that need to be a motion to take it out of subsidies?
No, just if you,
I
well,
definitely think, I can make a motion for that. I'll make a motion to take it out of subsidies to make it its own line item.
yes.
So that would be my motion right now.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor of that motion? say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. So it's on line item.
And I'll make a motion to approve the KCDC funding of $85,000.
A motion to approve it.
Second.
Second, Commissioner May, any discussion? Commissioner Under?
Is it true that the county's approved 85,000 as well? Has that
That
been
was in their
finalized?
budget.
I didn't see,
No.
I haven't
They've
talked to
not
them
made-
about
Is
it.
that
They
not,
have their
is it
meeting
not
coming
true?
up.
Or is it?
Not
They
yet?
haven't approved their budget
It
yet.
hasn't?
I think
Okay.
it's what's
they
in
need-
there right
I
now.
can't remember their date.
Okay.
I'm
Just
not
wondering.
aware.
Yeah, I
um,
think the,
talked about other budget items.
I think, I'll just say that I think we want to be in line with where the county is. It's an equal organization, and that's the intent, so.
Mhm.
And it was out of whack for a little bit.
Yep.
All right, we have a motion and a discussion, any other discussion on this? Not? All those favors say aye.
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 Can you say any opposed, please?
Any
Since we're not
opposed?
doing
Yeah,
this
right.
individually.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Thompson, and thank you, Commissioner Roberts.
Yes, no worries.
So, we've provided some updates, of course, some things have happened today. The Simon House, about 2 months ago, did make a request for $110,000 to fund their operations. As you know, today, they have suspended operations. We have been pretty clear. We provided, the Board of Commissioners provided $50,000 at the end of March, which was supposed to last through June 30th. At this time, staff might recommend to table this item until we have further discussions with the Simon House to make sure that they're on good footing and how this can be supported. Or you can approve funding of that amount or a lower amount, but it doesn't have to be distributed until later.
May I ask a question
Yes,
on this?
Commissioner
So, first of all, I want to address something that appears to be a bit of a misnomer that we've all been addressing all day long. When we speak of the Simon House line item,
It's the you're right, emergency shelter.
that we have an emergency shelter here that is apparently made the decision to close their doors, and then we have the Campbell Street Simon
Yes.
House that is mothers, children, transitional housing as well.
Yes.
So when we are talking about maintain and reduce Simon House line item of $110,000, is this for the 24-hour?
Correct. Thank you,
Low
Commissioner
barrier.
Thompson, for making that, because that is true. This is a request for the 24/7 emergency shelter. I think they were requesting it for all, but at this time, it would have been focused on that. As you know, the Simon House can either, and the shelter on Campbell Street can either apply for separate funding under our new subsidy process. And then eventually through, as the update provided to you all today, through the CARES Coalition.
I would make a motion that we table this matter. Mayor, I think it's vitally important that we have communications with the county related to this. I know that when we were looking at the funding of the two, I know the county put some money up front. I know that we have paid a little bit more over the last year. And obviously, if they are looking to close the doors, regardless of however much we provide, that would make a difference. I do think we believe there are some short-term fixes that they are putting in place right now over the next week or so. That doesn't give us a ton of time, but I think we can table this until we get a better idea of what's going on. And I would be a lot more comfortable with that if we could do that. So my motion would be to table this matter at this time.
No,
Second.
I agree.
Third.
Any other discussion on
Third.
that?
Yeah,
So
I
we
just
know.
want to, I would just want to agree with him wholeheartedly. I think we are in a position where we do need to speak with the county on this. We need to speak with them because it is something our community needs. This is a non-profit organization. This is not a city entity, but it does serve our community. And I think we do need to table it so we can meet with them, because just giving them money is not getting things done, we need to make sure they have a plan moving forward on how they're gonna be successful and be able to thrive in their nonprofit organization.
Just to add to that, we were in contact with the county today and discussion
yes.
with the joint statement, and we'll be following back up with them.
Yes.
And for the record, this was already on the agenda for tonight to
Correct.
consider funding for next year. It has nothing to do with what's gone on since over the weekend with the Simon House, so they're not actually actively asking us for operational funds right now
Correct.
to get, I mean, we've already given what they've asked for.
Well,
this
they
Right.
requested
But they
on
requested
Friday
this.
afternoon, we learned that they requested $10,000 to meet payroll. But that was a late Friday afternoon request.
And I think they've since covered that. Yeah, I think that's my understanding.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that it was also made clear that we had met all of the requests. We met all of the obligations that were requested from 22 to 23, and this would be the July 1st of 2023 until June 30th of 2024. So it doesn't affect what's going to happen, what should have happened during this time, which we were told in the meeting that the last time we provided I think it was $50,000, that would get them through the fiscal year, which would be about a month and a week from now. So I just want everyone to understand that has been on Facebook and texting all of us and sending us emails that we have been funding the Simon House. We have been funding the Simon House at every request that they've asked for. So this is purely dealing with next fiscal year. That being said, and have we after I guess we need to vote on that.
Yeah, we got a motion to table it.
And a second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
And a third.
All right, we're gonna table that one.
May I ask a question from a purely budget standpoint to Ms. Ross? So they've tabled it, we would not have an opportunity to get it into the first and second readings in June. So once you all decide,
You
then
will
we
be
can do a
amended.
budget amendment.
Correct.
Is that
That is
underst-
correct.
Okay,
Or-
I'm just
or we-
making sure I understand.
Or we could have a special meeting between now
We-
and then,
we could,
theoretically.
But we've
Yeah.
also had 3 Monday meetings.
We
But
have.
we can
Let's
do it
just- let's
30
just keep
minutes before
rolling.
the next meeting if we
Yeah.
need it to at
We can work
4:30.
something out.
I just wanna make sure that I don't mess something up, so I'll remove it for the first and second readings, and then we can put it back in as a budget amendment, potentially. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
So, the Council on Aging, Meals on Wheels.
Commissioner Thompson.
Madam City
I would
Manager,
say-
if-
Not you.
Yeah, Madam City Manager, if you'll give me just a second. I also wanted to say just very briefly, I said this 2 months ago. We have a homeless population problem.
We do.
We have a food scarcity problem in this community. We have a poverty problem in this community. And this community does not want its local government to be the basis of the funding for all of our the needs for these organizations. You do not want us to be in charge of all of your charitable organizations, because there will come a time that there will be people on this board who will consider some charities more important than maybe you consider it. So to all of the churches and all of the charitable organizations out there that I have said this before, this is the time that we need you to step up to help these organizations if there is a need in this community. We cannot, especially when the city is in dire straits when it comes to our own finances, be the one that everyone comes to when they run out of money. You don't want that to happen. So I plead with and I urge my Christian brothers and sisters and my Jewish brothers and sisters and my Muslim brothers and sisters, please, if your community church wants to help out this community, now is the time. We need you to step up. We need you to do the things that we're all called to do. You don't want the government doing it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner
I have
Thompson.
a comment.
Yes, Commissioner
I
Walden.
just want to make clear that the mayor's presiding over the meeting, and that we just need to make clear that whenever it's time to move forward, if someone's speaking, that they get the moment to speak and make sure that we're ending that. Therefore, we don't have mix-up, because when he started speaking, I thought everyone knew, and then they were speaking. We just want to make sure we have that communication,
I'm
please.
sorry, I didn't see him.
That's
It's okay.
okay.
It's okay.
No, that's a good, it's a great point. I said it before. I 100%. Next one, Council on Aging funding.
Yes, so this is also another suggestion. As we discussed in our individual budget meetings, the Council on Aging, their services are federally mandated. And we would also recommend that we separate out their funding in a separate account, and then fund it at what we funded them last year, which was $53,000.
I'd like to make a motion to move them out of subsidies into their own account, just as we did KCDC.
Motion, Commissioner Waldridge.
Second.
Second, Commissioner May. All those in favor of moving them, making their own line item, not a subsidy, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That motion carries. Okay.
Okay.
What
And
else?
I'd like to move to approve their budget of $53,000 as requested.
Okay. Motion, Commissioner Waldridge.
Second.
Second, Commissioner May. And may I ask, what do they ask for?
Well, they haven't asked for anything this year because of this process where, from the subsidies that we're having a meeting this week about it. But previously last year, you all also authorized $10,000 to help pay for a deep freezer.
Deep freezer.
So there was a total of $63,000 that we provided to them last year. So we just reduced it by 10 and said the 53.
What do they normally ask for?
I think they asked for around 60,000, but that would have been two years ago. I'm sorry, I don't exactly
It
recall.
was
but right
60,000
around
that they
60
reduced.
to 53.
Actually, it's 58 because we did 10%, so that's 53. So they normally request $58,000. So for the last 2 years, we have cut all subsidies by 10%, given the budget situation. So
Mayor, if I may, this is a little different though, because this is a federal mandated
Right.
program, and honestly, what Marshall does at the senior center is just, I mean, it's amazing. And if we had to turn around and do it, there's no way we could provide the services that she does. I think that I know that they were planning of being a part of that, ask when everyone else comes along. I would like to approve this amount, but also if there needs to be a budget amendment, I think we need to seriously consider that in the future if they come to us, because this is just something, we have an aging community. Everyone on this board has parents who are getting into that range that need these services, and it's vitally important to us to keep this well funded. And to Ms. Jenkins, thank you for all you do.
So we have a motion to approve it at 53. And a second. Any other discussion?
Was Kyle the second? Sorry.
That was the second.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Second, thank you, Commissioner Thompson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And that carries.
Later this afternoon, I sent an email. I did speak with the county today. They have funding in their budget at 7155 for the Humane Society. In our individual budget discussions, we had a request to move it from 71.5 to 65,000, so that whether you choose to maintain it at the same level or to reduce it.
I have a question. When you say keep it at the same level, this 65,000 was before we did them a 10% increase, which was over everyone last year. We increased it a little bit more to move it up for 71. So technically, if we move them back to 65, they would still be in the same rim of everyone else that moved up to that 10% when we did everyone across the board 10%, but then we upped them again 10%.
Well, we did up them, or request last year of 10% for
yes.
the fiscal year 23 budget.
Mhm.
And at that point, the city was providing 71,500 and the county was providing approximately 65,000. We have had discussions with the Humane Society stressing the importance that the city and county should pay the same amount, and to provide these important services. We know, I talked to the county today, they are budgeting 71,500 in their fiscal year 24 budget. So this is for fiscal year 24, we want to
Okay.
maintain the same, or if you want to reduce.
Okay, so
I can make a motion to maintain at 71.5, like the county is.
second.
Motion maintained, we have a second. Any other discussion on, or any discussion on keeping it, really increasing it to 71.5, right?
No, it's just maintaining the same.
That's where it was last year, that's right.
Yes.
It's maintaining from where we
Maintain, yeah.
gave them a bump last
Yeah.
year
Yes.
to keep it the same, which I'm sort of against, but if that's what we're trying to do is maintain with the state, you know, just moving forward, know that we are the city and this is a county issue in the KRS, and yes, we do help, but we continue to try to get the county to partner with us on other things where they're not paying like 911, and it's been hard to get a 911 question out of them. We do not always have to match the county and vice versa. And, you know, it's time for them to step up in other areas. So I'm okay, and I'll be Lisa's second on that, but we just need to be cautious in moving forward and always footing the bill.
Any other discussion? If something happens on the county side where it gets lowered, I think, you know, again, the intent is to stay at the same level.
There you go.
Mhm.
I agree.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 And that carries.
We had a new request from the Invasive Species Task Force. They requested $15,000 from the city and $15,000 from the county. I am unaware of this time if the county is going to be funding them, but that was the amount.
Move to table.
Second.
Okay, a motion to table this funding request and a second. Any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Unger.
I'd like to say I'm definitely supportive, but I think it would be good to table and see what the county does. We can always amend the budget later. I would like to support them.
I agree.
And I want to make sure that everyone understands, I support the situation. I think we need a little more discussion.
Mhm.
Okay.
Another reason to have a,
And did they provide a list of what it would be used for?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, just any, you know, where did the 15 come from? And how was it determined? I realize it would save us some time and effort and money if they
Like,
could
is this to buy
do some
goats?
things in the riverfront.
I don't know. Maybe.
It'd be good to see that.
Could-
We'll
Yeah.
follow up with that.
we just had a question up here. Could we utilize the $15,000 to buy goats
Can we?
and have them throughout the community to keep the
just like
invasive
goats.
species?
I
I would
like
just
it.
like to actually rent goats.
like
We
free-
don't need to buy them, and then we'd have to maintain the goats.
Yep.
Well,
Goat
KSU
yoga,
has goats. We can
we
use
can make
goat
money
goats.
off that. Something to think of.
Motion and second. All those in favor of tabling
Mayor's
this
like,
one?
okay, no goats.
Aye.
Aye.
He's like,
Let's
okay,
be
no
on the
goats.
record.
I
Commissioner
know.
Thompson likes
Yeah,
goats.
goats.
Not
Didn't like chickens, but he loves goats.
Okay, maintain or eliminate new positions.
So we have discussed these in the public meetings, the assistant city manager, risk manager, communication specialist. We didn't discuss it as much, but it was in Katie's budget, part-time building maintenance staff person. So if you want to vote on these individually, whether or not to keep these in the proposed budget or to remove them. Just as a friendly reminder, the risk manager, KLC did say that they would help for 3 years in supporting it, and about $15,000 will help us with doing the job description and recruitment.
Commissioner Waters.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the risk management position, given that KLC will pick up some of the salary there for us, and it will help us in the long run. I think that would be a good position for us to take on, and it also, it's a big salary, but at least we don't have to pay it all. So that's my
Commissioner
motion.
Waldridge, that also includes fringes, so
Yes.
it's not that's not all
Yes,
salary.
yeah, you wrote
Okay.
that in the last budget,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry, yes,
Yeah.
just wanna make sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
motion on the risk manager to,
Yes.
we're just making a motion to put it in the budget.
Yes.
We're not creating the position, we're not hiring the position tonight, we're just putting it in the budget just in case, so.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do it, if you all approve it, there'll have to be an ordinance change to add that, so it's gonna,
Correct.
it'll take a little bit of
We're
time.
just setting aside the funds just in case we do wanna hire these, so that's not, okay,
Second.
and second, Commissioner. So any discussion on this? one?
Discussion.
Commissioner Thompson.
Question for City Solicitor Ross. I understand KLC has a program related to assisting not just with financially, but also any risk management questions. Is there is there like a hotline for that, or is there a program that they run that would be able to assist with that, or?
I am actually not sure about
Okay.
the risk assessment services that they offer, but
Okay.
we can certainly look into that.
I know that they said they would offer some money. I just wondered if there was some service that we would be able to tap into to perhaps until we find the right person or whatever that is. I mean,
We've had discussions with several other insurance people. That's how this came about. We've had meetings with them and with our insurance broker here in town and discussions about the value of a risk manager. So, and that's why they offered to help us with the job description, help us recruit other.
Actually, KLC also told us that a city of our size, with what all we have going on, the assets we have, the different departments we have, that we really should have someone in that type of a position that would do risk management, OSHA, that type of thing. And they've encouraged us to look into getting a risk manager.
okay. Is that, are we anticipating this risk manager, I know we don't have definite, job descriptions, that this would not only be OSHA and liability risk, but also financial risk assessments?
No, I had not anticipated that. It was really more a matter of employee safety, that type of thing, running those
I
types
just
of.
honestly was thinking something completely
Yeah.
different, so I apologize.
Anything that we have claims against in our insurance, that includes all the gamuts, vehicles, public officials, workers' comp. Well, no, actually, we're self-insured for workers' comp. But anything that they'll do
They
training.
would help with workers' comp as well.
Oh, that's safety, yeah, even though we're self-insured.
But I'm assuming that having someone on the investment in this money, we will reap the benefits on our insurance
Yeah.
costs, correct?
That's obviously the goal. KLC's told me that it's hard to quantify this, obviously, but you should hopefully see a reduction in on-the-job accidents, that type of thing. And they will help with workers' comp claims, things of that nature. And they would be, if it's approved, we hope for them to be located in HR and help with that, because now HR does the workers' comp claims. So it'd be good to have a person who has that type of background. That's just some of the things that KLC talked to us about concerning this particular position.
Okay.
And did they give an estimate on how much savings, will this pay for itself?
They did not. They said it was hard, like I said, hard to quantify, but obviously all
But
it
it has
takes,
happened, yeah.
all it takes is one, fairly large claim. If we could avoid it by having OSHA safety, things that deal with OSHA safety, that type of thing. And if you can avoid claims, since we are self-insured, now I think we have an insurance policy above a certain amount, but obviously if we can avoid accidents, that would always be the best thing to do as well, so.
I make the motion, you second.
Yeah.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Are we going, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay. Yeah, we're putting it in the budget.
Correct. It's got a space.
Got a space for it. All right, any others on this one? Commissioner Waters?
I do if anyone else does. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to table the assistant city manager, communication specialist, and part-time building maintenance. I'd like to table those.
Second that.
Okay, motion and a second to table. Any discussion?
Would you like me to share why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I would like to table the assistant city manager, as I think that we need to discuss a little bit more on that and what that looks like and what our need for that is. On some pages it says it's assistant city manager. On other pages it says assistant city manager in economic development. I like it better when it says economic development, so I think we need to see what that position is before we actually do it. So I think tabling it, not to say that we're not doing it later or whatever, but I think that we need to come together as a commission more on that. Communication specialist, I think, is very well needed, but I think that we need to look at our staff that we have and see what direction we can go, and seeing what this end of this budget looks like for us to maybe amend it and put that in to see where we are standing. And then the part-time building maintenance, I'm sure Katie needs that position, but looking at that salary with benefits, I don't think we're gonna be able to hire someone at that, that salary. I don't. So I think that it's something, maybe we need to go back and look in that department on how we can maybe pass some of those duties out, or how we can, I guess, what am I trying to say, Kelly? I'm trying to say that maybe cross-train people to see if we can pick up, because I just don't foresee someone jumping at that job part-time at that salary. And that's fringe and everything, so, or whatever comes in. I don't know if they get anything else if they're part-time, so it would just be salary.
Social
Social security,
security,
okay.
there's no pension there.
So,
And I do
that's-
not, my apologies, I do not recall what hourly rate I put, but it's, part-time, so it's 1,199 hours.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it'd be $12,
Yeah,
50 cents.
I don't recall. And
So-
also, just so you know, we've had that in previous budgets, but we could not
Find
obviously
someone,
find
yeah.
someone that wanted to
Yeah.
do that.
So I
So
think-
we do have a problem with
Yeah.
filling that position
Yeah, and I
anyway.
can see
so,
why.
Yeah.
But I just think that we could table these so they're still out there for us right now. That's sort of my overview, so you know where I come from. Okay.
Okay.
And then quick, so the deficit that we had projected includes funding all these positions?
Correct.
Okay. You have a motion and a second to table the other three. Any discussion? I
I'd like-
am looking to do one of these, so, at least one, so,
Yeah, I think I'd just like to explain why I would vote no on that, just because I would like to go ahead and put the placeholders in for these positions, even though I do totally agree that we need to flesh it out and discuss all these positions, because I think even the communications specialist could be contracted. You know, maybe that could be cheaper, and maybe the building maintenance, you know, maybe we need to pay more. But yeah, so I'm actually supportive of all of the positions on this screen. I just think that we need to continue to discuss it. So I would like to have the amount placehold in our budget and have it earmarked.
Commissioner Thompson?
My position is that I agree with tabling it until we determine the not only the need but the risk benefit with regard to hiring of these positions. But I will also say this: when talking to Chief Bowman last week, he expressed how difficult it was to hire individuals for police. Talking to Chief Monroe, I know they had one of their largest classes, but it's difficult to hire for fire as well. Didn't mean to rhyme that. And then, and when you can start in Fayette County your first day as a police officer right out of the academy, and you're making the same amount of money as someone who is in upper level management at the city police department, I cannot in good conscience vote to add 3 of the 4 positions, knowing the pay disparity between our community and other communities, and the difficult time we're having to put people on the road. We had an amazing response the other day, but as of August 1st, we're literally going to have 33 people as police officers on the road. And I know that we have some coming, but as of August 1st, we're going to have 33 people on the road, and it's dangerously low. And and we have room for 63. So I just can't do it. I mean, I think all of those funds would be better served in helping the wages for civil service individuals that we have, police and fire, and I can't support adding any of these positions at this point, knowing that.
All right, there a motion? Yes, Commissioner May?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I agree. I think everybody's having, great points up here on all of this stuff, and initially really was looking at how this could fix some of these problems, some of the long-term problems. I agree right now with the budget that we have in front of us on this night. It's a difficult decision to make. I agree with the idea of putting the placeholder in though, because I would like to see the city get to a point to where we can have these discussions and we might be at a place where we can start to add these in. The assistant city manager position to me, I think, opens up an opportunity for us to use our personnel resources in other ways to help, kind of, they might be able to multitask on some of the PR things as we grow and work on some of the recruiting and retention aspects of it and dive into those things as we look in how we really departmentalize that. So I also am in a place where I would agree to placehold and agree that the risk manager though is very important. So just wanted to voice that opinion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table the other three. Okay, I'll take a voice vote. All those in favor to table, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed to tabling, same
No.
sign. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're not gonna table it. All right, let's consider the, getting any motion to consider the, I'll make, well, I can make a motion
I,
now. Yes, Commissioner Waters.
I don't have a motion for you, but, just some discussion, and I understand this is, I guess you can say it's a 3-2 vote right now to put in a placeholder. And just for me, just to be speaking bluntly, I understand placeholder, but placeholder could also mean tabling because you can still bring it up and put it in the budget by amendment. So it does not sit well with me to play a placeholder because there is a 3 vote who really want all of these positions and probably would take 5 more. And I just think we need to be very cautious with that. I think the risk management, as Commissioner May shared, and he agrees, that will bring in money. I think that's going to bring in money. And as I shared with Commissioner Unger earlier, it could bring in millions. It could, depending on what we're helping out with. And I think that could bring in money to maybe look at another positions. I do support community specialists, I do. But I think sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and we're like, oh, we want these positions. And, for me, I wish I could have had a job description for every single one of these positions, knowing we have a plan for these positions and what they're already going to do. We don't have that in front of us to even say what the city manager / economic development or wherever else you want to call it in front of us. And in any HR that I've been through or any time of hiring, it comes with a job description. The only thing that I know as for a fact of what they're going to do for us is that city is the risk manager. And I'm very well that we can look at it and say common sense, but we have to stop doing things without a plan and without the appropriate material in front of us to make these decisions. That's a huge salary, 144. When we look at what has come ahead of us from the city manager that's been presented, not one time has it been discussed in what it's going to look like. It just said we're going to move some of those responsibilities from the city manager over and maybe add some economic development, but it's not been brought out to us. And so we need to look at that because not one time has the city manager's position been asked to be sliced or lowered to help even support this position. Because if she's going to give up half of her duties, what we paid her to do, then to me, that salary needs to be decreased to show that she's giving up some of her duties. And then maybe that can then go back to what Kyle's saying about our police and other people. But we have to be very strategic in that. So I just say that I understand I'm against the vote. There's 3 people that want to put a placeholder and I'm fine with that. But please, let's just make sure we're making these decisions and making sure when we make these decisions that we're asking for the right information. There should have been job descriptions in front of us for us to say, wow, this may work. But that is not in front of us.
And I also say that there was not a job description for the risk manager either.
No,
But
correct.
We supported that and on your motion and the second by the commissioner. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The fact
There's not,
is,
but
we're not
we know what
hiring
they
this
do.
person tonight, and we may not ever hire any of these positions.
Correct.
That's the point. Of course, we wouldn't move forward without a job description, but it does. But to say, and I think it's not a fixed. Again, I think it's a fixed mindset to say that we cut. It's a zero sum where we have to cut to add something. We have to cut it from somewhere else. I think if we need to do more work as a city, we need to hire the right people to do that work. And that's part of it. All these things we want to do, we have to hire the appropriate staff to do it. And I'm not, of course, we need to get more people for civil service and the fire and police and the streets
Sewer
department
and
and
streets
sanitation,
department
and we're working on that.
Right.
I just don't see how, not considering these. And we don't have to hire them, but I think at least put them in the budget. Yes, City Manager.
Yes, I'd also like to add that actually in my performance review last year, one of my goals was to hire an assistant city manager. And I've had individual conversations with all of you about it. We also discussed it at the strategic plan retreat and on other occasions. And the goal is that if we think about a minimum of $12 million worth of new projects that we're going to do, because we're bonding for the downtown master plan and the parks master plan. If we think, as I mentioned before in the public meetings, the continuity of operations, and that an effective span of control in management is 5 to 7 people, and this current position has 13, that these are the broad reasons why we need, and I think the city needs, an assistant city manager. Now granted, we're not going to create one until we know that we actually can hire one, and then we will create it because there's going to be a lot of discussions. Should there be a certain area of focus? But for those 3 broad reasons that I've been discussing for the last year, that's why I think it's important that the city, as you said, to move forward, to handle all these new projects that we have going on, all the work that we've been doing for this last year to prepare for these announcements, the development, the growth. We need to have additional project management expertise, executive administration expertise to make sure that it happens correctly, that we don't mess up, we do it right.
Let's start with it. I entertain a motion for a part-time building maintenance.
Motion.
All right, to put that in the budget.
For that, is that
There's a motion to add a part-time
Put it in
building
there.
maintenance person, right? We have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Let's talk about the part-time building maintenance person. Is there any discussion on that?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I understand Katie needs it, but like they said, they continue to put it in and they're just hoping someone's gonna need that position, I guess. I mean, I think we just need to go back to the planning board. If it's really needed, where can we spread that, maybe across the board to maybe give some of the duties? I don't know what the duties are, so and maybe I overlooked those, or maybe I overlooked the meeting and what that was going to be like. Neither here nor there. It's really
Let me
hard.
ask, how long have we been looking for this position?
So the part-time building maintenance person would work under Andy Ferris, who is the building maintenance supervisor.
Okay.
He's been in this role for nearly 14 years on his own.
Okay.
One of the main reasons is because he's nearing retirement.
Okay.
And we want to get someone in there to learn kind of what all he does, because it's vast. He maintains all of the city buildings and organizes all the work with any contractor for basically any component on any building. So somebody that can start to be trained in some of those duties, and then with the hopes of that becoming a full-time position in the future. And he's, I don't want to speak for him, he's probably in a 3 to 5 year range of retirement. So that was really the main reason for wanting this. And we do have staff that currently step in. Street department steps in and helps on projects when he needs it. It would be nice to have a dedicated person to fill in and to get things done a little bit quicker and to just take some of the load off of him. So that's kind of.
And how long have you been looking for this position? Is it hard to fill?
Probably the past year we've been thinking about it.
Have we added it? I mean, have we advertised for it?
We have advertised and didn't get a lot of feedback. I think that speaks a little bit to the salary. I believe it was advertised at $17 an hour. So part-time without benefits, that's really not a whole lot, but something, a starting point.
Well, should we keep it in at this salary or take it out and do it again some other way?
I think was the 25,000 based on that, do you think? A couple of things that we've been talking with Kathy about is how to increase starting pay. And so we've been looking at that kind of across the board with our tech positions, which this would fall into. And I'm not sure, you know, maybe $1 or $2 more on the hour might help, but
Katie,
I'm not
actually,
sure
we're
how that
looking
equals
at,
out.
Going from our starting salary of $17 an hour for our tech positions to $20 an hour. We're still working on it. This is something that we will present to you in August for additional changes, along with changes for police and other departments' salary changes.
Well, I guess, should we keep it in it at this point now, or table it till August when the salary increases?
That's really strictly up to you all. I would like to keep it in and go ahead and see if we can get somebody on board, but and then always revisit that again later. But
Commissioner Rogers?
So you stated that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said this is part-time, and you were like, you were hoping to make this position full-time? So if we
that
made this position full-time, what would be the full-time? Because I think it is a lot of work for one person. He's been doing it for 14 years, so let's give him his kudos. Thank you, because that's a lot of buildings, a lot of responsibility. But what is the need right there? Do we need someone else full-time that is learning and that maybe could move up to his position in 4 or 5 years if that's what it takes for him to retire in due time? What does that look like?
Right. I think a couple things in response to that. I don't have a full picture yet. Andy has recently been added to our work order system so that we can track all of the requests. So we're still kind of training people to come to him through that work order system instead of calling him directly. So it's hard, honestly, to have a full picture of what all is entailed in his position. So another reason for the part-time is to just get somebody in here and see how much of that load that they take, and to again reevaluate the need for the position. And like I say, I fully expect there to be a need for a full-time in a future budget year, but that's kind of the thought process for this, to get someone started with them.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Matt, did you have something?
It was answered in that conversation.
If I may, it's amazing what a calculator will do. So I actually already have that budgeted at $20 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, that amount with the Social Security's, that amount. I just did the math, so.
Okay.
Commissioner Thompson?
So to get back to my point on this discussion item, if you take the 3 remaining spots that we were talking about, $144,780 for the assistant city manager, $72,390 for the communication specialist, and $25,820 for the part-time building maintenance. That equals a grand total of $242,990. That would allow, my understanding, Katie, is that you have, when you're fully staffed in your solid waste, is 16 people, 17 people?
Got 18 in
18.
solid waste,
Okay.
20 in streets,
Okay.
5 in the garage, and 25 in transit.
So that would allow that $243,000 would essentially provide for $4,500 increase its starting pay for everybody in solid waste, $4,500 increase, and it would allow for, before we even got to COLA, a $5,000 increase for the 33 police officers we'll have in August 1st. Now, I agree we need all these positions. I also agree that we've done a lot of stuff with the skeleton crew that we have right now, and they're doing an amazing job. And all of us, in all of our jobs, want more work. But the fact that we could pay starting pay for our folks in solid waste an additional $5,000 a year, when I know that is one of the hardest positions to fill, as well as giving the police officers who will be here August 1st an immediate $5,000 increase, plus their 5% COLA if we don't do a $2,000 across the board. You're talking about $7,500 for every police officer that is there, and that's not even if we do it by percentages, just a flat amount before we come back and start talking about redoing wages. I can't sit here and say we want to placehold these things when just 2 weeks ago, we told the community we can't pick up your yard clippings because we can't find people to work in these positions because it's hard to find people that'll work for $17 an hour. I am missing the cognitive dissonance here when it comes to let's add a bunch of positions that we would love to have, which I agree we would love to have, but if we're going to set aside $250,000, let's do it for the folks who are here, who are already working. Let's get the garbage back in place with the yard clippings and the extra pickups, and let's pay the people so that we can fill those positions. I feel like we are, and I will say this, and I could be absolutely wrong, but I believe if you add 3 more positions, besides the one that we've already voted for tonight, and I agree to that because it would save the city money, but if you add 3 more positions, you will rue the day you did that. You will have more police officers leave, you will have more firefighters leave, you will have more individuals leave because they see the city setting aside money for positions we don't even have an idea of what they're going to do yet. And that money could very well go to pay the individuals who have thankless jobs in this community. And even after last week and all that we went through, the fact that we are not trying to find funding to immediately get those people on par with the surrounding counties, I can't vote for those additional positions right now. And perhaps we don't even have the $250,000 to be able to do this. Maybe it's time we all tightened up our bootstraps and moved on. But if we add these 3 positions, I'm telling you, as God is my witness, we will rue the day we do that.
Right now, we're talking about the part-time building maintenance person and not the other 2. So I want to make that clear. We're talking about hiring the part-time building maintenance person, and I don't know how we get along with just one right now. I mean, we got to hire some. We got to hire some people. This is not. I don't think it's a fair comparison to say that this is going to take away from police or sanitation or streets or any other department. I mean, we've got to have some people to do this work, and I think it's that. I think that's our motion and our second to approve this position right now, and we can talk
Oh, the
about
motion,
tabling the other 2.
Yeah,
Commissioner
yeah, I'll
May,
make
do you
a
have a
motion,
point?
yeah.
Did you want to say something?
I did not.
Commissioner May.
Oh, I thought you said Katricia. I was like, I did not. I didn't say
I
that.
think you.
Let's, do we have, all those in favor of approving the part-time, or putting in the budget, the salary for the part-time building maintenance position, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed to putting the part-time building maintenance person in the budget, say, same sign, aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's 3-2 to put the part-time building maintenance person in the budget.
And, may I explain?
Yes.
My goal is that I think we need to go back to it because I don't think the part-time is going to do it for Katie and I think for her department. And I think we need to look in how we can make that a full-time position that can give it a salary for people wanting to apply so she can get it done. She's already been a year without it. And I think we just need to take it more serious and see where that comes from.
She was just here when we asked her what she wanted, and she said to put it in, so.
I understand.
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
I just don't want to be here in another year.
But we did ask her that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Sorry. Can I make a motion to put the assistant city manager in the budget as a placeholder?
A motion to put the assistant city manager in the budget as a placeholder.
Second.
I'm sorry, I think I already had that. No, I didn't have a motion, I'm sorry.
No, it was part of my motion when I tried to table them all. Yes, ma'am.
3 of you said
Yeah.
placeholder,
All right,
okay,
motion
I'm
and second
sorry.
to put the assistant city manager. Any discussion? On this one, I would like to see if there's a way to combine positions, assistant city manager, communications into the same. I do think that when we talk about economic development person, that I am more inclined to do it if that's going to help us on that front. But I hear the other points as well. So, yes, Commissioner.
I agree with your comments as well. I think if assistant city manager could help potentially run some of these projects, we are going to be bonding out in the near future, as well as maybe take on some of the communications, I think that would be great. But I'd also like to make it clear that, yeah, I would like to see that job description, and I'd like to see it on an agenda before we talk about hiring, you know, but the placeholder in order to discuss.
Having said I'd be open and tabling it too, until we know more about what's gonna happen with it.
You,
Is there a
I'm
motion and
sorry.
a second?
No, this position, I don't wanna table all three at the same time.
Right, but
which
I
is
think there's
what
been a-
we said.
That's what
I
I'm
made a
trying to say.
motion.
Yeah. You
She
said-
made a motion to do a placeholder, and
Right.
then you said I would be okay in tabling this one too.
I would be.
So are you saying, okay,
We
so,
have a motion and a second. I'm
Gotcha.
just as
Yeah,
discussion.
a second.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to make sure I heard
Yeah.
you right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Oh, no more discussion for me.
Discuss-
All right. All those in favor of putting the placeholder in on this one, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say same sign.
Aye.
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 All right. Now we go to communication specialist. You have a motion to put a placeholder in the budget for the communication specialist.
Who made that motion?
Do we have a motion?
Oh, do we? Sorry.
Do we have a motion?
I have a motion.
All right.
I have a motion that we table the communication specialist position, just as we did the city manager, because of the discussion of
The
maybe,
assistant city manager.
The
not
assistant city manager. well,
Maybe you want to table the city manager.
maybe so. You may be onto something. But no, I need it with that because of discussion of possibly looking later on to maybe combining them. So I would like to table that along with that if that's going to be a possibility. That's my motion.
Second.
A motion and a second to table this one. Any discussion? I'm actually for this one, so all those in favor to table this one, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Same sign, aye.
That was the little.
So that, we passed that to table this one,
That's correct.
okay.
Okay.
So we're tabling.
So
the
what we have right
communication, but you
now,
voted
coming
not
out of
to.
this,
Incorporate.
No.
So
To
we, so
incorporate
we've
it
also
into-
tabled assistant city manager though, correct?
well, in a sense, we have, yeah.
We did the city manager, that was the assistant city manager is
Assistant city
tabled.
manager.
Then I asked for the communication specialist to be tabled as well
Yeah.
because of the discussion prior, that it could be a possibility of
Yeah.
looking to see how those could be combined, and I would like them to be tabled for a
Yeah, right.
discussion
And
later.
we voted to table.
And we
But
voted
So what we
table.
did vote to
No.
table.
I understood it there was two voting to table,
Mm-hmm.
and then you all, the other three voted saying not to table. That's
correct.
the city clerk.
Yeah.
On the, wait, the motion.
On the communications
The motion was
specialist.
to table, okay, so,
Yeah.
Well, there
three voted to
I
table.
vote, I voted to table.
Table,
There
I
you go.
voted to
Oh.
table, and Kyle voted to
Okay.
table.
Two voted to not table.
Oh,
So
okay,
right now,
sorry.
the
If we're not-
communications.
Yeah.
assistant city manager
Then we
are
can,
tabled.
sorry,
Yeah.
can I,
What hasn't been tabled, as far as I understand, is risk manager and part-time building.
That is correct.
yes,
That's,
sorry.
that's what I.
I threw y'all off.
Madam Clerk, are you
Yeah.
caught up on,
No, I'm.
should we do a voice vote on each of those?
I think we should.
Okay.
Okay.
It'll just tell.
Well, I
Call
mean,
for
this is,
a roll
this
call
isn't,
on
I mean,
each
we're not
vote.
voting for the position.
Sure.
Yes.
Do you
Right.
want, do you want to keep assistant city manager in the budget right now? All those, raise your hand, all those in favor, or are you doing the clerk vote?
We're doing clerk.
However you want me to do it, I just got tables and I've got motions and.
Let's do voice vote on,
Okay.
if you don't mind, Judge.
All those in
I mean,
favor of
you're on.
keeping the
Mayor.
assistant city manager in the budget right now, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, are we
What?
gonna call,
We're
can I
voting
call
on
the
voice
roll?
vote.
Can
We're
I
gonna
voice
call the
vote?
roll.
Okay, call it.
Okay,
City manager.
I know it makes it longer, but, Commissioner Thompson,
Yes to table.
to table, okay.
No, this is to keep it in.
Oh, keep it in,
Why
okay.
are we voting on it again?
We've already voted. 'cause
We're gonna do
they're
the-
not
Shemay
clear.
wants it clear, right?
I apologize. The motion was to keep it in.
No, my motion was to table it.
That's what I,
No,
that's what I
This
said.
is, you've already, your motion was a while ago, and this is now, Shemay, are you wanting a voice vote on what the motions were previous?
So I have them written down, but I had tabling on several.
Okay.
Approve the position for the risk manager,
The other ones I have tabled by Commissioner Waldridge, seconded by the Assistant City Manager to table. Commissioner Waldridge, Commissioner Thompson, to table the Communications Specialist, and that was Commissioner Waldridge and Thompson, and then to table the maintenance, part-time maintenance.
Actually,
was-
part-time building maintenance was
It was approved.
3-2.
Right, but the first motion was to table all three of those.
That's correct.
Yeah, that failed.
And that failed.
But then we did them individually, and
Then we did
part-time building maintenance passed.
Risk
and
management
risk management
passed.
passed.
Could be
And then, part-time maintenance inspector,
But they sit down.
sorry, part-time building maintenance passed. So right now tabled is communications and assistant city manager.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
mm-hmm.
And those were both
I don't think
3-2.
these have to be official votes, these are just, that's what, but everybody understands that, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
Assistant
Yes.
City Manager is tabled.
And they were 3-2, correct?
All of them, yeah.
Yes.
Hmm?
Okay, okay, so
Okay.
we're good. Just moving forward, could we maybe do roll call on those?
Yeah, sure.
It might
Sure.
help me a little bit to be a little bit clearer.
Okay,
Okay.
All right, table.
new community policing advocate, is that where we are?
Yes.
Renee, City Clerk,
Yes, ma'am?
squared away?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
So there was a request by a commissioner to add in a additional community policing advocate for the police department, including benefits $60,946.
How does this compare to our current, policing advocate? Sorry.
I think it's the same pay. I
Is
mean,
it-
we're
is
not,
it-
It's not the same pay.
it's not?
Because she's been here a little bit longer.
Yeah,
They're
so-
thinking
right,
it
yeah,
might
they're,
be-
yeah.
I just
we're
wanna I just
thinking
wanna
it-
make sure
yeah.
that we're not bringing somebody in at a higher pay than somebody
No,
that's
this
been here
would
for
not
a
be.
year and
This
a half.
would be on the lower end of that scale that community policing advocate is in.
I will-
And it would also include 13% pension because of the way you changed the pension rule, and then social security. So I don't exactly recall, I could probably figure out the math a little, but it was within that pay scale on the lower end, like,
So- Yes,
yeah.
ma'am. So, second question, is this coming out of Chief Bowman's budget, or is this coming out of the general?
It would come out of the general fund. You would have, that would be in addition to, you would have to add that into the budget.
If I'm correct, when Ms. Hearn was hired, we actually, Chief Adams actually had that in his budget,
Well,
correct?
so the police department's budget is actually in the general fund, so it's one and the same. They just have their own department budget within the general fund, so this would be part of Department 43's police department budget.
Okay.
I think that's what you're asking.
It
And
is,
that
it
is
it
what,
is.
and that is what the previous police chief was able to
Okay.
do as well.
So, is Chief Bowman aware that this was gonna be part of his?
Of course.
Okay,
We've
just-
shared all the commission requests.
Okay.
The commissioner requests in your individual budget meetings. We've shared them all with everyone, and this was one of them.
Chief Bowman, do you mind coming up for a question? Thank you, sir. You're moving well tonight, by the way. I'm impressed.
Feeling okay tonight.
Good. We'll see how long that lasts. The question I have is it your desire would it be beneficial to the police department to have another community policing advocate?
Well, when we talk about all the extra load of work and stuff for the police department, we always talk about burnout. You know, as I've spoken to everybody and spoken in public, you know, when you take numerous calls and stuff, it burns people out, especially with the way we're working. With her, I think on her own, she had over 310 cases that she was involved with last year. And that exceeds, I think, all the detective cases minus the crimes against children and special victims unit.
She's an absolute rock star, by the way. Will she be happy to have someone there to assist her as well?
Yes, as soon as, I'm sure you could probably hear her cheering for joy from wherever she's at right now when she saw this
Not
pop
that
up.
Shelley
Absolutely,
is
no,
now,
no,
that's
but
what you're-
honestly, she would be very appreciative.
Okay.
And knowing some of the extra things that we could do as well as the next phase of that position, it would definitely be welcomed.
I just wanted to say, I'm not opposed to this because we've talked in great detail. I've talked to Shelley about all that she's done.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not opposed to this, but I also don't want to overlook what she's done to make sure that she has been compensated for doing that, because we do see that she's done so much. And what does that compensation look like for her in your department or in our general budget or whatever that looks like, to make sure that she is comparable to other people that are doing her job? I know we're hiring some people to take that off of her, but I just think that we also need to look at her compensation as well, because she has done a job for 2 or 3 people, it seems.
Yeah.
And she has been a total rock star and helped this community. So I think
Absolutely.
we need to make sure we're getting her where she needs to be
I
financially.
have that information. Kathy
That would be
Gill
great,
sent it
yeah.
to me.
I know I asked that we discussed it at one of our last meetings, but I just want to make sure.
Commissioner Arden.
I just want to go and make a comment that this was an ask during my meeting, my first budget meeting, and I know that last meeting, Chief Bowman, you discussed looking at grants to help pay for a position in the future as well. I hope that continues. And I'm excited to say we have potentially a second community policing advocate. So.
Yeah, I guess following up on what Commissioner Thompson was saying, is how she feels okay about this, but is there potential for you bring in somebody at a, I guess the pay, that's what Commissioner Waters, I think, is going to be, is there potential for, I don't know, division there if we're bringing in somebody else that is close to that same pay?
No, sir. I don't foresee there being any issue like that with Shelley. She understands the importance of the position, so she's not the kind of individual that'll probably go, if this person's making within X amount of dollars, I'm gonna leave. So that's not her, nor do I think she would put us in that position.
However, I will say that Commissioner Waldridge and I think all of us would agree, though, she is not that type of person, but we want to reward her for what she has done.
No, completely.
Yeah, we want to make sure that.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask this: you were about to say how that fits into the budget, so we can. Okay. Please, thank you.
So when this was brought up at the previous meeting by Commissioner Waldridge, Kathy sent me a note. So, and this is going to reflect fiscal year 24, because Kathy confirmed the COLA that Versailles is providing. So after that 6% COLA, the Versailles policing advocate is going to make 53. After the Georgetown 6.5% COLA, the advocate is going to be making 48. And ours will be making, after the 2,000 pay COLA, will be 57. So I think we're pretty appropriate compared to our surrounding communities, but it's comparable.
And that's salary, not all fringe, right?
And it's not, and it doesn't include overtime.
I just want to add, I appreciate you sharing those numbers with us, and from looking at this, it does. When you really look at Frankfort, Georgetown, and Versailles, when you really break down the numbers as far as overdoses, as far as our homelessness, we are at a higher rate. So, when you look at it, and it's only, from Versailles, you're looking, at 4,000. Well, some of Versailles dropped their people off here in Frankfort for us to take care of them. So, for them to be a little bit less, I can understand that. I agree, she is a rock star, and I think that we need to look into that, because how many cases did you say we had 310?
Yes.
So when you look at that, I don't think that those numbers will reflect in Georgetown or Versailles. And I think that we do need to look into that, because obviously we're trying to bring another person in. So I just think that's something that we needed to keep in. And I think that Shelley has mentioned to all of us over the past year everything that she's been doing. I think we've all been tentative in what she's doing. And she's also said that, yeah, she could use another person to all of us. So I appreciate you bringing it up in your meeting. But I think that she has made vocal to all of us, because we all appreciate her position and we do follow up with her a lot. So I think it still needs to be concerned. This does not show what she does here in Frankfort as far as salaries. Thank you.
How do we go about if we feel that, because I know you're going to approach us after the budget and discuss police and fire and all of those areas that we're going to readdress pay. Is that going to be a completely separate budget discussion that we'll have? And is that I don't understand the process of it.
Just to be honest, there's not enough time in the day for us in the last couple months to prepare for this budget and all the work.
Understood.
we recognize, we've had conversations with Chief Bowman about pay there, with Chief Monroe, with Katie, with Kenny Hogston, our sewer director. And actually what we're working towards is that many of the departments are doing some reconfigurations, changes. So actually the pay increases could almost 100% be paid for by some changes that we're gonna be making. As you saw in your spreadsheet, for example, the reduction in overtime costs in the fire department, as we've discussed with you, changes in the sewer department, and there'll be others coming forth where I'm in discussions with Chief Bowman. We've talked about changes there. We know that administratively we're a little bit top heavy, so we want to look at how do we get more patrol officers out there every day. So we have to have more time to finish those discussions. It's kind of impossible job to be having all these discussions at the same time as we're trying to get our fiscal year 24 budget passed.
Thank you.
So that will be separate.
Thank you for explaining that to me. Chief, I just want to say, in a passing, as we walk away, I think I speak for the majority, but I would never speak for them. But I would say that I think most of us agree that we need to seriously look at Ms. Hearn's wages and all that she does. I know I've needed it at midnight in incidents, and I know others have too. So I just she's priceless. So I mean, we got to make sure she's taken care of.
We have a,
Did I make a motion?
we don't have a motion
I'll
yet
make
to
a motion.
approve this.
If I may, I did the calculations, my apologies, I should have broke that down better. That salary is around 50,000. And then that gets you to a little over 60 with benefits.
All right, we have a motion. Is that motion, Commissioner Unger?
I'll second.
And a second, Commissioner Walters. Is there any other discussion on this position? If not, I'll ask our clerk to call for a vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldron?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. All right. And next, Economic Development Plan with Franklin County.
So there was a request to budget additional $25,000 and jointly fund if the county budgeted $25,000 for a new economic development plan.
Can I ask, how does, and I hope this is not taken as me being facetious, but how would this differ from the innumerable number of plans that we have had working since 2000, including the master plan and things of that nature? I don't mean, I'm not.
This was, with the county has budgeted this as well. I think that there was a request, maybe KCDC was gonna put it in their budget, but we thought we should jointly fund this outside of any organization.
Outside of KCDC?
To do it jointly. And this is again, another placeholder. This, that they're putting 25 in, we're putting 25 in. It may not be enough, may not, maybe too much.
Who will operate?
That's what has to be determined. But that's what, that's one of the things that the joint meeting that we would have would help determine that.
When is this?
There's no.
The first, we're looking for June,
Okay, all right.
middle of June.
Middle of June. Middle of June.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, start to
Don't take
look
your
at
vacations,
the
county folks.
The week of the 12th is what
Okay,
we're
all right.
looking for.
I like we're getting closer.
Because we have other things to talk about too.
We do.
It's
Yep.
not just that. Yes.
Oh, I agree.
Commissioner Walters.
So, okay. We are matching them 25,000 to do a county and economic development plan. So is this our staff leading this plan, or are we gonna put out an RFP for someone $50,000 to run that? Or is this part of the regional plan?
No, this would be separate from the regional plan. It wouldn't be our staff. It would be, the thinking is, and again, we're still working out those details, but, since we're going into budget season, go ahead and put the money aside, but we would do an RFP for somebody to do our community-wide plan that would incorporate all of our partner agencies, not just one agency doing it for that agency's sake.
Okay.
So how does this differ from our comp plan moving forward? And before this is coming in and before this is put out for bid or what have you, will the county and the city meeting take place? Because I spoke with the judge today and he said, yes, we're okay with meeting. We just can't ever agree on dates because it seems like no one wants to meet, but then he says maybe January. So I'm confused.
No, I didn't know.
Or in June.
We've been talking about June or July, and last we talked, we were looking at mid-June.
January 25.
Yeah.
Well, and hearing this request, I think of it as something different.
Okay.
To have, I would see more of a focus, not only a community, but also a needed focus on our downtown, economic development, retail, and looking at community-wide. This is different from, yes, the comp plan and the downtown master plan. This is strictly focused on what type of businesses do we want to attract, utilizing our assets and zeroing in on that, hopefully probably looking at maybe there's going to be some incentives or attraction, supporting entrepreneurs, that type of plan, which we're not currently addressing.
I would hope that part of the discussion would be, and the use of these funds to whoever, has these discussions, to make sure that there is cohesiveness between the plans that the county may have, say, I don't know, in Lakeview, and what we may want on the riverfront. And we defeat the purpose if we are doubling up, different attractions that are similar in nature. So I would hope that would be one of the goals of this. And I think that's probably the difference in the comprehensive plan, which, is essentially the entire city and county, what's happening there. But when we're talking about projects and things of economic development, those are the things that I think there needs to be serious discussions about.
Yeah.
And this wouldn't be necessarily a land use plan, but I'm thinking about something, the comp plan is more about what uses of land and where, but this is more about what incentives do we need to be having in place, what types of industries do we need to be attracting with the resources we already have with state government, with KSU, or are there certain industries we should be targeting? What are we missing here? I think that's, and again, who knows what they're going to come up with once we hire them. But I've seen what Covington did with theirs. They hired somebody out of Atlanta, and it was it's a pretty step by step. Like, here's what you should implement, and I think that's something that we really haven't done for a while. Again, this would be, we could do it here in the city on our own and focus on. But I do think if there's a willingness with the county to put it in the budget, we can do it too, and then we have that meeting.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I agree, and it's not that I'm opposed to it. I do agree, and I like the county's putting in on it. $50,000 does seem low. It seems like it's going to come back a little higher, probably. Let's be realistic on this if we're wanting a good plan. That's just me and knowing economic development. But I just think that in doing this, I just want to make sure that when we put out that RFP, that we will get a great firm to do that, and a strong committee that is not with the same people that are on the same committees right now, making the same decisions. It's really, we need to put in really good people in that committee to help put in some input on this and what that downtown looks like, to make sure we have strong people from downtown, like she said, with entrepreneurs and business owners downtown, on really what they're looking for and what our city can, bring in, and making sure we're holding all these landlords downtown, accountable to make sure their buildings are up to par, so we can bring in state-of-the-art stores and things like that. But I like the idea. It does break it down a little bit less, but I also agree with Commissioner Thompson and making sure that we all have a say in that we're talking, and that this isn't just going to leave the city and it's going to be county focused or the county takes reign. I just want to make sure that we hold that 50%, maybe 50 plus 1%.
Well, it's all in the county.
I
think
it is.
If it's a committee, I would hope that it would be primarily some of us, some of the fiscal court and staff. I don't necessarily. I think that we're the ones who are accountable to deliver the results. So I think that's why I'd like to see something. And again, it could be low, probably is.
Motion
but
to
I've
approve.
seen others that are
Second.
higher or lower.
No, I was about to.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Unger. All those in favor, say aye. Well,
Aye.
I'll ask our clerk to call for a vote. Sorry.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that carries.
And I think this, Mayor, is a good step in looking to what, you know, if we did, you know, we tabled the assistant city manager and things like that, and the specialist is something that we'll see where this goes.
I think this is,
Yeah, it's a good step.
next.
Item number 10, maintain or reduce Commonwealth Alliance's contract. It's currently $36,000. You want to keep it there? Would you like to reduce it to 24, or would you like to reduce it to 18?
Next Commissioner Walters, sorry, I had to make sure that wasn't my phone.
I would like to ask, do you have the number of what they brought in for the last year? As far as numbers, each year that they've been hired? Penny has her hand raised if you guys don't, but.
I mean, numbers of what you're talking
You
about?
want
How
to
much
come up,
we've
Penny?
paid them, or
No, like,
the revenue?
yeah, revenue that
So we
they
have
brought
that
in
for
that
the year
assisted
one.
us, so.
The year, this second year, we're actually still actively working
Correct.
on current efforts to increase the pilot.
Increase our revenue for
It's-
2024.
Yeah, so there's still efforts going on right now. It has not completed.
Okay, year one.
Year one, let's see, $3.5 million for the Broadway Bridge, and how many $1 million for paddocks? That's still up in the air?
Yeah, but I mean, roughly about 14.4 million in road funds for the US 127 road project. There was a certain amount that was put into the 2-year road plan, and then there was a certain amount that's in the 6-year plan, and all of that is toward really opening up that whole area around Franklin Square, and you know, as we've talked about, allowing it to develop as it should, since it's been zoned commercial for 30 years. There were several other items that we worked on as well that were non-monetary to build those relationships. We have a number of new legislators. I think over 50% were new. You were a new commission, so there's been also a lot of relationship building that took place with those folks, and leadership in that firm, both on the Democratic and Republican side. So it's been a good mix of working with legislators as well as administration staff. As Laura said, we are still working on several strategic initiatives, and that is an ongoing process.
Yeah. And it's a little bit different because this wasn't a budget session this year, so you can't do a specific amount.
Right.
There was other work that has happened, so that's why there's something I can't give you a number right now.
And so my follow-up.
Yes,
I
Commissioner
have one follow-up, sorry. My other follow-up is, you've given us 3 positions. What does that mean? As much as they work for us hourly?
No, it's a monthly amount. As you may
Okay.
recall from the contract, it's $3,000 per month. So it's
Right.
either for a full year,
Oh, so that's what I'm saying, it's for a
8
year.
months, or 6 months.
Okay, got you.
Yes, Commissioner Thompson.
That's what we need.
I would like to point out, first of all, before I make a motion, that Penny can vouch for this as well as the executive staff. And I want the people that are watching this to know that there are significant projects that will be announced soon that were only possible through not only the work of our staff, but also the relationships that were built on not just this agreement but others. And kudos and thanks to Congressman Comer and to Senator McConnell and all of those, and Congressman Barr, all those who have stepped up to help us. But it's the building of those relationships that these people allowed us to do. So I would make a motion that we keep it at the exact same rate, because we're going to need them for the full year. We know that. And come June, when a number of these hopefully are announced, right, Penny? At least a couple of them. People will start to see the benefit of that. And we definitely get our money's worth with this group. I think it's the best value for what we spend it in.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion on this?
No, I just think it's good that the community hears financially what they have done,
Yes.
because a lot of people look at it as expense and they don't really see and understand it, and that's why I asked, even though we know some of those numbers, so.
I'll ask our clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that motion carries to maintain the funding.
So several of you have asked me questions about the hiring freeze. This is something we proposed as we look at our ongoing operating deficit. Long-term, like, are there ways that we could provide some additional savings? These are the projections for a full year as of whatever staff that we had at the time on March 24th. If we don't allow departments to go above that, except for Parks and Emergency Management, because at the time they were all seasonal, and this is, we're talking full-time staff. The savings for across the city for a full year is $690,000, and a hiring freeze for the sewer department is $146,000. So one thing to keep in mind, for example, let's just say our sanitation staff was at 16 people on March 24th. They're down to 14 people. They can still hire up to 16, but they wouldn't be allowed to hire up to 18. Right. So this is a way where, some ways you can look at it, that a temporary freeze, 3 months, 6 months, that allows some additional savings, if you choose to, as another way to decrease the operating deficit that we currently have.
Commissioner Waters?
So I would agree, and I'm glad you explained that, for a freeze. However, if we decide on what time that freeze, the extent, whether that's 3 months or 6 months, we need a plan in what we're going to do in that 3 to 6 months to really key in what positions that we could eliminate, what positions we can combine, and where those savings are going to come from, with an extent at the end of that 3 to 6 months. We're going to hit the ground running, knowing how we're going to make the city stronger, where we're at in each department, and if there is hires that we do need to submit then. So I don't know, Kathy's not in here, is she?
No, Kathy is off today. Okay. I would say this, we don't currently have a plan because we didn't know whether you would approve this or not. Mm-hmm. We were brainstorming different ways. When we were first looking at a $1.9 million budget deficit, we thought, we've got to present to you all a lot of options. There's not just one way, you know. Cutting your way or increasing fees is not the only way. You've got to look at a combination. So we brought this forward as something that's common in some other cities, that we would just freeze hiring. That's it. And then be allowed to, after that, yes, to evaluate, and then allowed to hire back those that, you know, vacancies.
So how for the 690 in savings, how long is that freeze? For a year?
For a
That
year.
would be an
Okay.
A
entire
full year.
That's
6
in
months.
essence all the vacancies that were budgeted in all those departments except for, obviously Parks and Emergency Management.
And police?
Yes, all of them.
Oh.
So where is that?
So if we have
Well,
42 people that are, is it 52, right?
Commissioner Thompson, let us explain this, because they're at a certain level at March 24th.
Okay.
It could be there at 60, 59 or 60.
59 sworn officers.
That's
as
the
of
total
March
department.
24th.
And we budget for the total department, whether or not we have the 63 sworn officers, which we have allowed. So if they were at 60 at March 24th, if they're at 58 now, they can get back up to 60. They can't go above 60. Or if they're at 55 right now.
Okay, so can we exempt any other agencies? Because I
Do as you will.
I have no problem with a hiring freeze, except for those agencies that we absolutely need individuals in right now, which
we need all. Yeah,
I know we need all.
It's just an option to consider.
And actually, I believe that the 3 departments we have issues with sanitation, streets, and the police department had more people at March 24 than I think they do now.
Yeah.
So they would at least get back to their March 24 amounts. So, and that was just a suggestion, because I know we had the deficit. Now, what another option would be to not table this and not do anything with it. The salaries are in there, and then you just say, hey, let's be very cautious and conscientious with who we hire, you know, because you could always still control it. We could still control it some, but the budgeted salaries are still sitting there.
But we could lift the hiring freeze.
Right.
next
Yeah,
month
well-
if all of a sudden we
well,
end up
that's-
with more revenue than we thought we would.
Right, I mean, and I guess my point is that you could still keep that in there and then say that, say hiring freeze, but the budgeted numbers are still there, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know of any of the larger departments who maybe fire because they had that larger recruiting staff, who ever really get to full staff. I mean, from what I have learned in the 3 years that I've done budgets here. So we always, in the last 3 years, at least for me, have budgeted for full staff, but we've had multiple departments who never got to full staff
Yeah.
for one reason or another. So,
So really, it's more precise
Right.
budgeting, because we're only budgeting for who we have, rather than budgeting for more.
Did the $900,000 take this into account, the 690?
yes.
No.
No, it didn't. There are
If we-
$900,000
if we voted
budget
to approve the
deficit.
freeze,
It would go down to
it'll
three.
reduce
Oh,
our
yeah,
budget.
yeah,
would
yeah.
reduce
It would
it.
reduce it, yes,
It would
I'm
reduce
sorry.
our operating deficit.
When you asked that,
There
I
you go.
thought he meant
I mean,
it was part of that amount. My
That
apologies.
that
yeah.
kind of makes the decision easy for me.
Yes, Mr. Lawler?
We go back to assistant.
But that's for a full year.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would like,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, so I would like to make the motion to the hiring freeze as of March 24th, all but parks and emergency management. And emergency management, I'm assuming is, as Kyle stated, police.
No, emergency management
is
is
that just-
only our emergency management director, who at the
Okay.
time was seasonal.
Oh, okay.
So
gotcha,
that's
and we switched him
why-
over before,
right.
after that. Okay.
So that's
Okay.
why we accept him, so we can keep him.
But what if they wanted a part-time for emergency management? Well, it's in there as emergency management.
They'd have to come in and ask.
No, then we couldn't hire. We wouldn't hire it. We have budgeted for the possible 2 part-time people, but this hiring freeze would not allow for that. It would just be to keep our current emergency management director.
Without a part-time person.
Correct.
But we can lift it at any time.
Correct.
We can lift it at any time to hire positions as we go along if we put this into place. That because we do, I think we at least want one part-time person for emergency management, or do we need a list? Do you think it's better to list that position here for it to be covered?
Well,
I'm sorry, I do not have a motion right now, so I'm going to start retracting because we're still communicating.
Right.
Is that okay, Mayor?
Well,
I would like to retract that motion until we
Okay.
have an understanding.
Motion has been retracted.
Thank you.
I mean, we could bring this back for a further discussion.
I think we're on the right track.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and because it says emergency management,
Right.
it doesn't,
But the position wasn't made until after the 24th.
I understand,
That's
but
the
the,
That's
but the
the
department
department, though.
itself
That's the department.
is exempt, right?
Correct. Parks, because the number of seasonal staff, that they weren't
Okay.
hired March
So we
24th.
can hire that
And our
person.
emergency management director wasn't hired full-time as of March 24th. So we said accept them, because we obviously have to keep our emergency management director, and we need to hire the parks
Okay.
seasonal
So
staff.
we could hire
So
a
you
part-time person
Okay,
for
well,
emergency management.
yes.
Theoretically.
So my intent,
all
my
that.
apologies, my intent was to exempt emergency management altogether. We've got $150,000 in salaries for that budget, which would include Mr. Kenny's salary plus potentially up to 2 part-time people. I didn't feel like we should exempt emergency management because he needs that part-time help. And I know
That's what
he's
I
been,
was asking.
right,
Okay.
exactly,
That's what we were
right.
at. That's
I'm
what
sorry
we
to
were at.
confuse
Right.
things.
Okay, so your
It's
motion
my
is
fault.
good.
My motion was good, that's what I was
Okay,
thinking.
and we had a second, right?
Yeah, second, if there was one.
Yes.
Well, and then I guess, for me, it would be helpful to see department by department where we were on the 24th versus
Yes.
where they are
Yes.
now, and seeing how much slack we have in each department. I mean, like with police, I mean, how many people can they hire before we bump up against that freeze? Because I don't want to come out of here where we froze all salaries, or all positions and all hiring, when it's gonna.
Can I make a recommendation? So why not do this, and it'll be in the budget. I can bring back the vacancies to you, and then at that point, then if you feel like there's ones you would like to freeze
Okay.
later, then you could freeze individual departments later.
Okay, in the
Is
meet-
that,
yes.
would that be something you would be interested
I
in?
think that would be fine, except I would actually make a motion that until then, until we actually get those numbers and everything, that we actually
And
freeze
move
it,
forward
freeze,
with this.
freeze it
Do we
temporarily,
have a motion
at least.
on the floor?
We
I'm
do have a
sorry.
motion on the floor.
It's-
Yeah,
we're getting-
thank you, we do have a motion.
Being that it
Commissioner
was clear, my motion was still standing because
Yes.
they had
Yeah.
said no, and I think they
My
said no
fault.
to the wrong thing,
It
which made me
wasn't-
think that it was not what I read. So the motion is number 11 in its entirety.
In its entirety.
And then Commissioner Thompson
Yes, I
seconded
second.
that.
And second that.
Okay, and do we have a time limit on there, or is it just indefinitely? We know if we go to year
Um,
690?
Could we, yes, so I can put a 6-month on there.
I
That would
guess-
put us to what's in the year, what are we, June, no, we're in May.
I guess we don't need it, we could just do it quarter
I
by
just say we do
Yeah.
indefinite, and then we
Indefinite,
can lift
and
it.
Yeah,
quarter by
let's
quarter
do-
we
yeah.
reevaluate.
Okay, so I do number 11, hire and freeze as of March 24th, all but parks and emergency management at $690,000. And the hire and freeze as of March 24 for sewer department at $146,893 indefinitely.
Okay, now I have a question still, more discussion. So how does this affect sewer in terms of how much did they have on the 24th?
I think they had 39 people as of March 24, and they're fully staffed at 42, if I'm not
Okay, so they
mistaken.
couldn't go any higher, so sewer would be probably
But
right now.
Kenny might want to come in and correct me if I'm wrong on
Commissioner.
anything.
I was wondering about sanitation because I know we're actively trying to hire people. So are we able to keep interviewing?
Sanitation had, I want to say 16 full-time
Okay.
staff, and 18 would get them to full-time.
They had 16 in the 24th?
At March 24, yes.
How many do they have today?
We have 3 people still out on injuries. I would estimate now it's an additional 2, so I think they're 11.
So we would be able to hire 5 more?
No, we would wait to hire the 3 that would come back, and then I think additional 2
We gotta
to get to
exempt- we gotta
16.
exempt them.
The key thing is
Yeah.
the 16.
We
We
have
have to
to.
exempt
So,
them.
Because we need to
and
get
are
them
there
all and
others
get
that
back
we're
to
not
our
thinking
services.
about here? So we need to exempt
Yeah.
sanitation, what about streets? I mean, this is,
I think streets was not fully staffed. I think they had maybe 1 vacancy
That's
at
okay.
March 24.
sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm good. You know what?
Well,
Wait
if we
just one
did it
second. I have
indefinite,
that.
that means we can come back at the next meeting and fix it and change it. So that's why we put indefinite. So it's just enough time for them to get the numbers back to us,
Yeah.
which is the
True.
next meeting.
It's true.
And-
Well-
So,
I have it.
I would say the challenge of adopting the budget.
I have a lot of stuff in my mind, and it doesn't always
Mm-hmm.
come to the surface. Okay, so in E911, they had 1 vacancy as of March 24. In the police department, they had 3 vacancies as of March 24. In the street department, they had 1 vacancy. In sanitation, they had 2 vacancies. In the flood and stormwater department, 66, they had 3 vacancies. There were 3 vacancies in the transit department, 67. And that's it.
All right, so basically,
And
anytime
then,
we
of
get.
course, Kenny's, I'm sorry, my apologies. Kenny had 3 vacancies as of March 24 in sewer.
However,
But
there is a
It's where
challenge.
they are now, though.
Yeah,
We've
I
hired
just wanted to
Denise.
say we move quickly. We have filled most of ours. We still
that's what I
have
thought.
1 vacancy in streets and 1 vacancy in solid waste, and transit is, I don't want to speak off the top of my head. We may have a vacancy still in transit, but I don't remember. But we can obviously get that to you. But I just wanted to point out, we have filled a lot of those since March 24th.
Right.
That's why March
Got
doesn't,
3 or
it's
4 right this past week.
where they are today versus March. I mean, it
They
doesn't matter how
move,
many
they,
vacancies you had in March.
over turnovers frequent, so tomorrow it might be different.
Commissioner Waters.
I just want to say my motion still stands indefinitely because I know that we can go back and change it. This allows us to move forward, that it is posted. It's not going to affect anything in the next 2 weeks for us to come back to the next meeting. And those numbers will get to us.
Okay. Any other question for
That's why I keep
Laura
looking at
Ross,
the
city
Laura.
city attorney?
Just to make sure I'm understanding,
Yeah, I'm
because I'm
not
thinking
done
about the process of the budget ordinance, first reading, our plan for the first reading
Is
is
June 12th.
June 12th, with the second reading at the end of June, right? So if we have the ordinance itself ready to go at the work session, if you all vote to include this in the budget ordinance, and then there are numbers that change that, we would need to be able to make those changes that night to the budget ordinance.
Have another special meeting.
Or have another.
Have a
Yeah.
special meeting.
I mentioned
to-
having the special meeting maybe
Okay.
at 4, and then we maybe could just go over a couple things, be done by 4:30 to make some changes, and maybe by 5 when we start
To
our
get the
meeting,
ordinance.
that we can then add those changes. Would that be appropriate?
I'm just making sure, thinking about what goes into crafting the budget ordinance because it's so different from,
Okay.
from others, if
Mhm.
that will be enough time, if there are changes.
That would be difficult, probably doable, but it would be difficult. And I'd be worried I would, miss a number or something. And I'm glad Katie came in because whenever I do the budget, I have to have our numbers as of a point in time. That just happened to be the point in time that Kathy gave me. So obviously, as Katie has pointed out, there have been people that have been hired, and so some of the vacancies might already be filled, and obviously we don't want to, do anything that would obviously jeopardize someone that's been hired. So, I guess that's another consideration as well. And our 690,000 in savings would not be that much, it would be potentially less.
It would be
Just
less.
so you would know, yeah.
So, can I move to, before we vote, can I move to amend Commissioner Waldridge's motion to simply say that the hiring freeze is as of
Today.
May 22nd?
I can agree with that.
Okay.
My apologies for that.
No, no apologies, just.
All those in
Hold on.
favor of amending the motion to be May 22nd? Any objections?
Can I
to
look at that on, the-
Which means finance can
like, May 21st?
Okay. I would amend it to May 21st.
Okay, so now we have a motion to approve the hiring freeze as of May 21st. Is that acceptable to our finance director?
Who we just lost someone and
Licensed tax administrator that we need to fill that position. So.
May 21st?
When did they,
Her last day was Thursday.
okay, so, I mean,
So I
but
guess
you
we're
had-
covered.
you had the position though, prior to
Sunday, May
prior to
21st.
today, right?
Yes.
Theoretically?
Yeah.
there is a position.
So, I
It's
mean,
just not currently filled.
It's just
So we
not
couldn't
currently
hire
filled,
a new
right.
person to fill that position.
We had it on May 21st.
I think her official last day was the 18th. She was out of here on the 18th, yes.
So we need to move it back to the 18th?
I don't want to say that because there are other department heads that I'm sure need vacancies filled as well, so I don't
Well,
want
I think we could
to-
look at finance moving forward in the issue of maybe revamping the finance department. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
Is there anything else from the back of the Chief Bowman? Do you have something you
I'm
want
just curious.
All right, come
I
back.
could be
Yeah.
clear up on, I'm sorry, before, because we've got a process for testing in a couple of weeks. My 5 vacancies, are we saying, based on the new thing, that my 5
Get to
have
the
to?
microphone, Dusty, sir.
Oh, I'm
Everybody
sorry.
can hear.
So my 5 have to stay vacant?
No,
No, because you
No.
had it in before the date.
yeah.
Okay,
You have 4 at the academy right now, though.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm
obviously
short
they're
5
hired.
people, yeah, I've got 5 people empty right now, so for those 5 vacancies, until it's approved further, we're not able to fill those 5?
To amend it.
No, what was the day you didn't have those 5?
Well, as of the 5 been empty about a month.
We
Well,
table
I said that I know, because it
Good
really
point.
is.
I'm not gonna.
I just think, can we just do a hiring freeze on any new positions moving forward at this time?
Or let's just say,
Maybe?
go, how about go back to the original, we have a motion on the floor, and we have an amendment to move it to May 21st.
Two motions,
actually.
The
Second
Why don't we-
part has the amendment.
Maybe make a
We don't have a
suggestion to
second.
table it. We can provide you guys some additional information.
Yeah. This- well, I-
Because things have changed from when we calculated it at March 24th. There's changes throughout the departments. We told you how many were vacants. Those vacancies have changed. It's obviously causing some confusion because we don't have all the information for you.
There is, that's why I was like, maybe it just needs to be for like 30 days, but it was indefinite. We could lift it at any time, even if it was at our next meeting.
I don't
Or we
know.
could come back to it in June or July.
So we still have a
Or
motion
June.
second, do you wanna table the motion, or do you
I
wanna
just
move
thought-
forward?
It's her motion. It's her motion.
You amended.
I amended it, right.
The date,
What?
but you wanna table it, or you wanna
Okay.
vote on it?
I mean, I don't know.
It's her original motion.
I mean, I
Or you
think
could
that.
have it effective July 1.
Cause this is the
I thought
twenty-four
it would
budget. I mean, if you got people hired in by June 30.
I will amend my amendment.
Oh, wait,
Um,
We didn't have a
wait,
second
wait,
on the
wait,
amendment,
wait.
though.
Okay, so we have,
Amendment of the amendment.
we have the
We
amendment.
took a vote,
We
voice
don't-
vote on the amendment,
We
Yeah.
did?
yeah,
We did,
Yeah.
okay,
Who seconded?
yeah.
do we have a second amendment?
I'd like to table it.
Maybe the easiest thing is if you guys
Let's
could
start
both rescind your motions and we could start
How
over.
about
Sure,
that?
I will vote to rescind my
You
motion.
wanna make a motion to rescind the motion?
Rescind the motion. Him, or the amendment. He has to make.
Commissioner Walters rescinds her motion, and
You
first,
rescind
Commissioner
your-
Thompson, you rescind your amendment?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, so we're gonna start all over on this. There's no motion on the floor.
I move to table.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, move to table this. We have a second. Is there any discussion on the tabling?
30 minutes.
It's good to know that.
We're tabling so we can receive
Yeah.
information.
Right, to get the most
Discuss.
but
Then we
it's-
can move forward
it's-
appropriately in a hiring freeze because the 690,000 will get us really close to where that deficit is almost gone. So,
Actually,
but we
800.
want to make sure we,
Count
It's
the-
actually 836,893 that we're
Basically there.
60,000 away from.
yeah,
We're basically there if you count the salaries, yeah.
yes. Okay.
So table
Table it, and we'll
and,
get information on all of the departments.
so you want updated information on where each department stands
Yes,
with
please.
their,
Today.
Yes, please.
okay.
And then we could also look at the possibility of July 1st as a date too, and see,
Right,
and give us an idea of how much we need to do between now and then.
okay.
That's
What day are we voting on the budget?
First reading is June the 12th, and the second reading is June
26th.
26th.
26th, yeah.
Clerk, we got a vote on this motion to table the hiring freeze for the time being pending more information.
Okay. Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes, motion carries. Bring us to cost of living adjustments.
Correct.
Okay, do we have a motion here to, if we don't do any cost of living for general fund departments, that will save us 815,000?
Correct, plus 110,000 in the sewer department.
I would move to reject this.
Okay, we
This
have a motion
suggestion.
to not accept this proposal.
Second, or did you?
And a second, all the, you want to ask the clerk to call for a vote?
Who was the second, I'm sorry?
Commissioner Unger?
Either.
It's okay.
Patricia said it.
It's okay.
Sorry.
She was a third, it's okay, she was a close third.
Okay, ask the clerk to call for a vote. Is there any discussion on this?
No.
Okay.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes, that motion carries. Next, no COLA, cost of living for Board of Commissioners member. That'll
Mayor,
save us $4,500.
Before we get to 13,
Yeah.
may I make a motion that the COLA is spread out by percentage as opposed to an across the board amount?
I mean, what do we propose? Is this gonna be a fixed, 4% of the
It's gonna be
total?
So we took, of all the salaries in the city, and we took 4%, it was basically like a pool of money. And then instead of doing it 4% on each salary, we did a set amount dividing among the number of employees for 2,000. So those of our employees, as we all know, who are making lower wages that need to be brought up would receive a higher increase than those who are making higher wages. So right around at the 50,000 mark, where we have a more of a majority of our staff, it would be more than 4% or more.
So you want to make a motion?
And just
contrary
to
that?
also share that, the compensation study, the consultants that we hired previously that was adopted last year, this was a recommendation from them moving forward, but we realized overall we needed across the board.
Is that, you want that, or you want something different?
I want something different.
Okay, so you make a motion to.
I'm making a motion that 4% COLA be a 4% COLA based on each individual salary that an individual makes. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, is there a second on that motion? Waiting on a second? Not?
So,
Yes, vote. Discuss it.
okay, yes, I'll vote just so we can have discussion,
Is
yes.
there a second by
Second,
Commissioner Wallace?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so, I'm trying to I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, there we go. So, in what you're doing, in what you've suggested, which is not what he moved, the difference is that everyone around that 50,000 will get $2,000 regardless, and is that significant on getting people to a certain pay level or pay raise, and that's how we're doing it versus just looking at everyone's salary to make sure everyone's comparable across the board?
So I think we have a greater turnover with folks that are making less money, and the 2,000 helps our lower wages to be bumped up more, to be more competitive. And we have less turnover at the higher rated salaries, obviously. So we were just trying to make ourselves more competitive with the folks that we tend to have the most turnover with, and that's the lower paid people.
I don't have it with me, but I was looking at the compensation study, and so it just showed, I think we lost, and Kathy was talking about it last week, for people here just 1 year, we're losing 31, I think we lost 31 people. Previous year we lost 25. And it starts to get smaller as someone has been here year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6. This is a way we feel like where we're having challenges, who we're losing and who we need to recruit to raise their wages up more. A more equitable distribution.
And
Yeah, Commissioner.
And so my follow-up to that is, this is a COLA which is based on cost of living. However, when do we do raises that are based on fundamental work that each employee does?
That's actually been a discussion with Kathy Fields and some departments already. But that is something that I feel that we need to charge her to really focus on, because at this point, when we started this 3 months ago, you're not going to create a merit-based formula in just a couple months. Just like with the police interested in going back to a step plan, you're not going to be able to do that just in a couple months. We need to do this budget. And if that's the will of the board, that you would like to see a plan, then we can instruct Kathy to do that. And actually, on a side note, we had a professor at UK who was interested in doing research on pay. So we're going to do a pilot project and looking at pay at the sewer department, and looking at pay that's based on, there might be a lower COLA, but a possibility for a greater increase based on salary. You're motioning?
No,
Commissioner Thompson, you need.
I'm
sorry. I thought you were motioning to me, so
come forward.
I didn't know.
No.
So that is a pilot effort that actually our HR director has already undertaken, and we're going to be doing that here shortly.
Commissioner Doss.
City Manager Haig, you before I get to Chief Bowman, you said that we lost 31 people last year. How many?
My numbers aren't. I mean, I've got to grab the compensation study, but it was about that much.
I won't hold you to the exact number.
Okay, thank
but
you.
how many city employees do we have?
We have 306, 303.
303. Okay, so about 10% we lost last year.
Correct.
Okay. Chief Bowman,
Sir.
how many police officers up to today have you lost in your department
But from when to when?
from this time last year,
For fiscal year 23?
fiscal year
We
23?
are one additional down right now. We were 4 short last year. We
Now, how many resigned?
Like how many resigned and
Oh,
how
I'm
many
sorry,
retired?
let's see here, in that amount of time, I believe it was 5, and I've got one more that leaves here at the end of this month.
Okay,
And
so-
I think actually in fire, we checked this because we were talking about this. They've lost 9, so proportionally they're a larger department. But it's exactly the same with police. That it's a similar, about 10,
Yeah.
10 or more percent. 10 to
Right,
12%.
so, but that kind of is going to my point here, is that we're losing about 10% across the board, but we're losing 10% of our police officers who are, number one, making more money because they deserve more money in a lot of instances, but also because it's a dangerous job that you all do. But you're losing just as many as what we were just told was the lower amount of people that we're losing. So I mean, I agree that everyone wants to make more money, but you know, one of the benefits of working for government, either state or local, is that there are a lot of fringes with it and things of that nature. But when it comes to saying that someone who is at a lower pay grade, not that they're-
Sanitation, streets.
Right. But then saying that someone like Chief Monroe, his men and women, and Chief Bowman, his men and women, knowing the fact that when they walk out of their house, that could be the last time they kiss their wife or husband goodbye, every single day, that I can't in any way think that giving everyone the same amount of money is fair to them. And I mean, I think that they'd be offended
Would
by
this
that.
give them more though? There's this cheap moment,
Oh,
so the people that resigned over the last year, how many of those made less than 50,000 or more than 50,000? What percentage?
They were probably roughly in the 50 to 55,000
Okay.
range.
So they're in that range that would receive.
If they were below 50, they'd receive more than 4% increase. If they were above 50,000.
But also, please remember that we're going to bring back in August increases and changes for police, fire, sanitation, sewer, streets.
I understand, Madam City Manager, but I think there is an image and a look that goes out with when we make decisions like this, and we've talked about increasing pay for fire and EMS and police before, and then those things don't come to fruition later on in the year, or much later than we thought. I just don't think it's fair to the people, and I'll even, if you're an engineer or if you are a doctor and you are performing certain duties for us, you perform higher level of work, and I think that, or even higher risk of work. There has to be a percentage that you receive based on that. Just giving someone a $2,000 raise when they're making $65,000, that's not a true cost of living arrangement. That's just like a bonus. And I think that I understand that the survey said that, and I understand that that's the prevailing theory, right now when it comes to wages. But that is not traditionally how COLAs work, and it's not fair.
Commissioner, go ahead.
If I may,
Susan?
I'm the one that called it a COLA
Right.
because it's not a raise. So it has to be, I just called it a COLA. It's just an increase in everyone's salaries, whether it's a percentage or an amount. So that's just what I called it for budget purposes, just so you know.
Sure.
So-
Commissioner Waters.
So I'm not so on what we call it. The point is that there is a percentage that is going up on salaries. And when we base that off of our pay study we just completed, everyone should be at a competitive salary where they are. So I think we have to take that in consideration too. When we look at the salary of $55,000 and we look about 4%, you're looking at $2,200.
So 4%, $2,000, it's roughly almost the same. And I just think if we spend all of the money on the pay rate, on the pay study, then that's something that we can just go ahead and move forward. And we then can look over for 2024 later on to start looking at what it looks like for performance-based raises up that. But when we are looking at cost of living raises, the cost of living raise for everyone, not just the ones that make 55 and below. So they're paying the same amount for pineapples. It may be at a higher rate, but also, you know, their insurance premium tax went up just like everyone else's. And so I just want to keep that. I understand and I appreciate where you're going definitely with the 2,000 because I'm really on the fence about this. But I think in this time being that everything, the influx and everything of going up from gas to, it affects everyone. And so I think, you know, I think it is best to sort of maybe move on and just do the 4% across the board and then look at other options and dig into other options because it just, for me, it was like, why did we do the pay study then? If we've got everybody up to where it's almost competitive and now we're trying to add $2,000 onto a certain amount of people, it's sort of harming the other people because they want their raises too. That's what they're here. And we don't want to give raises and them not get as much and then them turn around and start leaving us.
We have a motion to make the COLA, we've already approved the COLA, the amount, the total amount.
Yes.
Now it's to make it proportionate as opposed to
Correct.
$2,000 per person. We have a motion, a second.
Oh,
You ready to take a
I
vote?
think I seconded it,
You seconded it.
and I'm gonna stick with that.
Okay, and
Okay.
were we ready to take a vote on this? You ready? Clerk, you want to call it for the roll? To make the COLA 4% proportionate on everyone's salary across the board. You ready for a vote? Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
No.
Commissioner Waldridge.
Yes.
Commissioner May,
No.
Mayor Wilkerson.
No. So that motion does not carry, and happy to still give a COLA though.
Yeah, to some people,
Everybody gets it.
just a little bit,
Everybody gets a COLA.
somewhat. Just not fair.
All right, next, no COLA for commissioners.
But thanks for commentary. It's quite interesting.
I would move to have no COLA for the,
Second,
All right, motion is second, no COLA for commissioners. Is there any discussion on this?
is that okay?
Motion second.
Everyone agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very
Any
welcome.
other discussion on this? Seeing none, ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Thompson,
yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes, and that motion carries. All right, before we get to capital projects, are we gonna go down the list on this?
No, what we,
Because if we're gonna go down the list, then.
no,
anybody else
unless
do
there's a
5-minute
change.
recess, 5-minute recess. If we're going down the list, we're gonna take a recess.
What we had recommended is either to approve or not approve the full request at 3.8 million, or to approve or not approve the staff recommended at 2.8 million, a reduction of 1 million.
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Okay, Commissioner Hunter,
Oh, sorry, did you
I'm
want
fine
to
with the
approve something?
recess. Second.
okay, we're going for a recess. How about
No,
that?
that's
5
okay.
minutes.
Great.
5
I
minutes.
was just gonna ask a
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Recess, thanks for waiting. And we are on capital projects. So is the recommendation to approve, we could approve all staff recommended capital projects in one fell swoop with a
For, yeah,
motion.
2.8 million.
I will make that motion.
And we have a motion to approve staff recommended capital projects for 2.8 million out of 3.8 million requested.
Second.
And a second, is there any discussion on this?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Waters.
I just think that if we're not going through these, we're just approving all together. And I think that we, you know, per our conversation the last time, looking at some of these electric versus gas, I mean, we really need to go down through some of these and look to make that decision on, do we want extra expense on electric vehicles right now versus maybe next year when we're not going against a deficit. And just looking at some of these individuals, I know it may take the time, but that's what we were voted in to do, look at the budget and be very contingent on what we're doing. And break it down line by line. Sorry, I'm out of breath because I was hobbling here. But I just think that we just need to look at this. I mean, I hate that it's going to take a little bit longer, but that's why they elected us, to make sure that we are paying attention to every dollar and every taxpayer's dollar that goes into this budget and pays for things. And I just think you're just approving everything, when there were some questions that we had at our last meeting in regards to vehicles and regarding to how many vehicles and things like that. That's my discussion, Mayor.
Okay, and any other discussions? So the major questions on the vehicles right now, is there any other, would our finance director like to address that, to see if there's anything?
I'll call the question and let's just see.
Call
If
for a
it passes, it passes, then we won't, I don't wanna
Yeah.
waste anybody's time on it, but if it doesn't pass, then we can.
Okay, and, well, any other discussion? Ask the clerk to call for a vote. This is to approve the staff recommended capital projects as they are at 2.8 million.
Okay. Commissioner Thompson?
No, and I'd like to explain my vote. I think that certain items on here, as pointed out by a number of the individuals in the community, are really high, and we do not need them at this point. And in fact, if we're just gonna, kick dirt in the police's face, I say we give them all the cars they've asked for, to be honest with you. But I'll vote no.
Commissioner Unger?
I am a yes, and I would like to add that there are 6 items listed that were deferred to future budget, and my hope is that we could look at those plus some of the other items that we have not added to this motion before the end of the fiscal year. If things are going well, numbers look good, then maybe we can look
You
at
mean
some
end
of
of the calendar year?
Sorry.
To look at the 6
Yes.
deferred? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, not the, yeah.
Right, right.
Commissioner Waldridge?
I'm gonna say no, because I just think that's what a budget's for. That's what a budget session is for, is to feed through and look through and cipher through. We asked for information to come back. That information came back to us, and we're not even discussing it, so I almost feel like we wasted time to even get that information. And there's vehicles on here, finance for an SUV, I brought that up. I don't think finance needs a brand new 33,959 SUV to take something down to the mail or run a couple of things or do whatever. I think that it would have been good to use one of the police, to turn that over until we could get them a small vehicle. And maybe even the same with IT, getting around town just to save us a little bit of money, I think would help. And I think some of these things need to be broken down. I think there was even a electric mower, yes, it had been brought up by a previous, that we want to look that way by previous commissions, even a previous commissioner. And I think that some of those things, if we can save money here and there to cut this out, I think I would rather do that. And I just wouldn't, in my own personal budget, I would not want to pass something like this if it was my own money.
Okay, I can, there's a no. Commissioner, sorry.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
So I'll be a no too, and happy to go through these.
Okay.
So that motion fails. And
I just want to add, actually, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items, those we're already committed to. So no need to discuss those, because we don't need to default on paying our bills.
okay, so
Correct.
we're not going through those. All right, so let's start page 2. All right.
Okay, so
It's,
those,
so we're going to page 2, starting with garage pickup truck. Is that right?
Okay.
yes.
If we could, maximum safe speed on this.
So,
Yeah.
up to you guys.
Well,
Garage
tell us-
pickup, we
so garage
provided the
pickup truck, electric.
spreadsheets and the PowerPoint, so it's just go down the list. Garage
So-
pickup, electric
Versus gas.
versus,
Gas, which is the next one.
Okay, that's what,
Yeah,
okay.
I sent you an email that I think you requested of me last time to give you a comparison. I tried the best I could to give you a comparison between
Between the gas. and-
electric
I'm sorry, Alicia, I did not see
vehicles
that.
and, I'm sorry?
I did not see that email.
Oh, okay, I sent
came
it
through the
on,
other day.
I sent
It
it
did.
on Thursday,
Yeah.
Okay,
so.
all right.
And,
Not
and-
part of the
yeah,
packet.
no, you're fine, sir.
Was
In
it part
that,
of the packet for the meeting?
no, it was a separate email because you asked that I give you some additional information on the electric vehicles. I know Commissioner Thompson asked for warranty
I'm
information.
sorry, I didn't see that.
No, you're perfectly fine. I think the biggest thing was the difference between, yearly expense for gas vehicles versus electric when you also take into consideration the monthly payments. And, it's my best guess that, gas vehicles, when you take into account the monthly payments, are actually a little cheaper
Okay,
$800.
than the electric, than the electric vehicles.
Okay, so are you recommending the gas in this?
No,
2.8?
you wanna go through these individually.
Yeah.
I'm still
No.
recommending electric vehicles, but obviously,
Because
I was trying to give you more information because I think that's what you guys requested from the last meeting.
So that your analysis says the electric vehicle is cheaper?
No, the gas vehicles are a little cheaper.
Well, then why are you recommending the gas?
Well, I think it's,
Or why are you recommending the electric?
well, I think
Because there was the Board of Commissioners previously who,
Yeah, but
as part of our
it
renewable
doesn't
energy
mean at all
resolution.
cost, it means.
I know, so we presented
It
that,
is,
it's
but-
$800, so now we're gonna go through. We did the staff recommended capital projects before we had the analysis that the gas vehicles are about $800 cheaper than the electric. So
Over
now
the
you wanna
year.
go through line by line, we'll just go through line by line
Yeah,
and,
but what I'm saying is that 2.8 million include the gas or the electric?
electric.
But that but you're also saying that's not the cheaper option in your
Correct.
analysis.
No, sir, it's
Well,
not.
then I want something to show which one's the cheaper option. I want to consider electric, maybe I'm not clear. I want to consider electric. Every town we have an opportunity to consider electric. Anything that can be electrified, that's a capital asset, I'd love to consider electric. I just need to know you considered it. If it's cheaper, then that's where direction we want to go. But if gas is more expensive, I mean, I'm not spending more money. I mean, I drive an electric car, you all know that, but I'm just, I don't think we said we want electric at all costs.
correct, so that's why we're gonna go through line by line, and we just sent this out on Thursday. We didn't have a chance to update the staff recommended capital projects, we left
Okay.
as is, so that's why we're going line by line.
Okay, so we're on the garage.
So,
question. Garage
garage pickup
pickup.
truck,
One question before we get going. Ms. Boyd,
Yes.
can you help me? Last time we were talking, you said you believed it was a 5-year lease that these were on?
They would be a 5-year lease, but under the, enterprise fleet management system, they can be turned in well before the 5-year
Sure,
lease,
Sure.
so.
And-
But the quotes are based on 5 years.
5-year leases?
Yeah.
Okay, do we know what percentage rate we are being charged for that monthly lease rate?
I do, I need to get it off of my email. I think I got an email from the enterprise fleet management person. Hang on. My apologies.
well, got millions of numbers to
Don't
remember.
apologize. That's not correct.
No, it's on there. It's the enterprise, and then she's got it broken down with a link on it. It had 2 links in there, and then it had it had like 4 or 5 attachments.
Yeah.
He gave me, interest rates on, I think, the 5 that we have now. A 2022 Chevy Silverado, 7.95%, 2022 Chevy Silverado, 6.64%, so anywhere between 6.43% and 7.95%.
Is the higher percentage rate on the electric vehicles?
No, if it's based on the ones that we have currently, those are all gas vehicles.
Okay, I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm not good at math, that's why I went to law school, not med school. But I'm looking at just an auto lease calculator, and it's 7% over 5 years, a $70,000 vehicle should be $1131.58. So are we paying an amount up front, or I'm trying to figure out where the additional.
I think in the email that I sent you on Thursday, I
Yes, ma'am.
provided you with the quotes
Yep.
from Enterprise Fleet as well. My apologies, I thought I gave you guys the information you requested, and I did not hear back from anyone on any additional
Questions?
information that was requested or any questions that needed to be answered. And Mayor, I'm sorry if you didn't get the email.
I mean, I got it.
I sent it out. Sorry.
It's hard, we're trying to be as prepared as possible. That's why I always ask for questions ahead of time, because there's something we may have to go and find, and some numbers we know off the top of our head and some that we don't.
Right, I guess,
So we're gonna go through each one of these.
Right.
Can we do a voice vote? And then-
We
May-
can do either one.
Why, I could make a recommendation. I mean, I have all of the vehicles on one slide. If you want to table the vehicles, you can, because the police department vehicles are on a totally different slide. So this would just be tabling the vehicles that we could do a monthly.
Right, but not tabling, they need to vote on each one of, is it gonna
Oh,
be a capital
okay.
purchase or not? It's not tabling,
My
it's
thing
just
is that
voting on
you-
whether to have thumbs up or thumbs down
No,
on
I'm-
each
yeah.
vehicle.
Commissioner Walters.
I guess for me, I mean, I understand that we asked for it at the last meeting or what have you, but I think what the mayor maybe is asking and what I was asking for is for it to be another line for us to see that, because you gave us so many different attachments. You gave us a contract from Enterprise, but yet for the electorate, it was all just here, when a line item could have just been added and then done like that so we could see it, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
I thought I did that. My apologies.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
And I can't see the one because it's so small
Sorry,
when I
and
do it
then-
with my phone, so.
So do you wanna, okay, can we
Sorry, I
skip over the vehicles for a second?
Sure.
And then
Sure.
go to the third page, to the big things like sanitation, this, side loader. We go back to these, is that all right?
okay.
Okay.
Sanitation, the, side loader, automated side loader, 369,000.
Does anybody have any objections to getting this side loader for our sanitation department?
Oh, no.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're
Okay.
in agreement on that one?
Sanitation side loader.
Yeah.
So the next one is sanitation 1-ton flatbed truck, 85,000. This is for cart delivery and appliance pickup, replacing a 23-year-old truck.
Anybody objecting to this one? This is, we need to deliver those carts. Everybody good with this one?
Yep.
All right, Kyle?
Yes,
Commissioner
sir.
Thompson, I mean?
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All those in favor,
All those
Okay.
in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Police, cruisers, 10 cruisers, asked for, recommended 400,000, well,
5,
5 instead of 10.
correct.
And we think the 400,000 would be to cover hybrids.
But do we feel like that's not what, we're not recommending hybrids?
Well, yes, part of the 2.8 would be 400,000, and we added another 100,000 to cover hybrids over gas. So if you take half of 800,000, that would get roughly 5 hybrid police vehicles, or you could drop back down to 700, half of 700,000 for
All
5
gas.
gas vehicles.
At 350.
I would make a motion to fulfill the full initial request at gas combustion engine vehicles at $700,000 for the police department, in the form of a motion.
Still have questions about the other. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second on fully funding the 10 requested vehicles at 700,000 if they're all gas.
Yes, sir. That's what we think,
We have a
yes.
second
And that
on this one.
includes upfitting as well. So it's roughly around 70,000 per vehicle for gas, 80,000 per vehicle with upfitting for hybrid.
Did we, okay, we're waiting on a second on that one. Okay, that motion fails. So we're gonna go back to We're considering the police request. Did we do, so the same on the hybrid, did we do the analysis on the hybrid versus, not electric, but hybrid versus,
I
which is
did.
the cheaper option?
No, sir, I did not. I did not do that.
And there was a question about upfitting the electric vehicles for police cruisers that came
But
up.
there's
They're
no
not on the
electric
state
police
contract.
vehicles.
Electric's not on the state contract for police vehicles.
Right, but I'm just talking about upfitting, we can't, you know, there's some question whether or not that they could properly outfit those, right?
The hybrids, no. that's-
Hybrids are no problem,
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
to our knowledge, yes, there's no problem there.
Is there an issue with us deciding tonight, since we're talking about allocating the funds to it,
Right.
to just say, well, what if we agree that we're gonna put $700,000 towards the purchase of vehicles? When it's time to start purchasing them, we can get down to whether or not
Yeah.
they use combustion engines or
It's,
do we have
it's
that
actually
option?
really critical to make a decision because
Okay.
as soon as we know approval, because it takes so long to
Okay.
get these vehicles, that's why we do it as soon as we could. I mean, because otherwise you may wait, and we got to prepare for it for June 12th for the first reading.
I guess if they knew an amount, they could just order up to.
They can order up to a certain, they could just order up to a certain amount, and you could allocate just a fixed amount, and then it could be some combination.
What do they ask for, hybrids or gas cars?
They asked for gas. I also asked them to look at hybrid, considering some of the discussions we've had over this past year as an alternative for reducing the cost of how much we spend on gas.
But we don't have the analysis on the hybrid, whether or not we would actually save.
Well, we'll save money. We'll use less gas. I mean,
Right.
but we don't have the analysis, for example, if they break down more than others or not. I mean, I think it's pretty standard oil changes, things like that, that are not required in a electric vehicle that are still required in a hybrid vehicle. So no, we don't have the analysis on that. Not enough time, sorry.
Any other?
I mean, we do know we'll save gas with
Yeah.
the hybrids because the hybrids are meant to get better gas mileage when you're stop go versus out on the interstate. I
Yeah.
believe if my
Yeah, it's correct.
little bit of research that I saw about it was correct. So, and I believe the police department's gas budget is roughly around $225,000 to $250,000 a year. So obviously we could save some money there. Now, I did not do that mathematical calculation. I could try to get something for you tomorrow and send it to you in an email. And I guess like what Commissioner May said, if you wanted to allocate an amount, then you could direct myself along with the police department to, you know, get the best vehicles, the best cost for vehicles, you know, and do some of that work. That's just an option too, because just for example, this past year, they had budgeted 4 vehicles at $220,000, but they actually came in at $247,000. So, you know, we could dump an amount in there and they could work with that amount and try to get as many as they could with an amount, whether it be gas or hybrid.
So, would you all feel comfortable making a motion to just do a certain amount right now and then see how many they can get? And then, that way we have a known cost on it. We can decide which ones.
I think I'm okay with doing half. And then we can worry about what we're saving later, once we see what this budget looks like moving forward. And, you know, if we need to add one or amend and add another, but I think at least it gets us moving in the right direction, on the projection that, you know, that Chief Bowman gave us, that, you know, these cars haven't been traded out as much as they should be, and hopefully we can get on that path, so by the time we get these in, maybe we can look on electric the next time, and then start weaning these out as well when they're supposed to be.
Commissioner Under?
You want me to make a motion
Yes.
to, do 400,000
No,
or no?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I asked him if he had a question, because I thought he had his hand up.
Thought you were. Which would basically be half of the request.
Second.
Okay, a motion to fund $400,000 toward police cruisers.
If you can get 6.
Get as
In
many as
hopes
we
it's
can.
more
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
can consider
than half.
So 400,000, okay.
Is the motion,
Okay.
do we have a second?
Yes.
Any other
I'll
discussion on
second.
this one? And you'll do the analysis to figure out what the best possible,
Hybrid versus gas.
since electric's not an option.
Yeah, the police department, in discussions with them, they were, they obviously asked for gas vehicles. They were okay with looking at hybrids, did not really want to consider electric vehicles, so.
No.
Okay.
Probably for obvious reasons, I assume, you know.
Based on
Yeah.
current price, that might get us, it'll get us at least 5 cars probably.
Gas, yes.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All right, I'll ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Thompson?
No.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Hold on. With motion for 400,000, right?
Right.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you were so aggressive.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, okay. And Commissioner May?
I'm
Yes.
confused.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Scared me a
Yes.
little bit. Okay.
Sorry.
Thank
Okay.
you.
That was 4-1? Okay.
Yes.
So now
Okay.
we're going to the next page, garage vehicle lift.
Yes.
Anybody have any issues with this one? No? All right. I'm gonna do a voice vote on each one of these. How about all those, anybody have objections on purchasing a garage vehicle lift?
No.
Please state it now. If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Great. Are we talking about an electric vehicle, or are we talking about a?
It's
So
a
they can
garage
work on
vehicle
it.
so that
No,
the
the
garage
garage
can
vehicle
fix
lift.
heavier
It's a
vehicles.
lift.
They need a bigger lift to lift
It's a
them up.
We're just talking about
to
the
make
lift.
su-
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
garage
We're not
vehicle
talking about
lift.
vehicles for the
Byway.
time being.
Byway.
All right, and how about the ADA ramp for the aquatic center?
Yes.
I'd say yes, that's definitely in hopes that maybe there's maybe a grant out there that they could look for to help recoup that later, maybe, since it's ADA. Could be.
So all those in favor of this one,
But
say
yes.
aye.
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 Aye. Sorry.
Golf course equipment proposal is 177, that's not in this one, sorry.
Okay.
But there are 2 pieces that are in, you might have to tell me about these 2, but anyway, $10,200 and $13,562.
That would be a yearly finance for each of those, and I think they're 48 months for each of those. And they're replacing some significantly old equipment.
1999.
I asked their golf superintendent to give me Laura and I did give us a wish list of ranking of what they really desperately needed, and these were 2 pieces of equipment that they really need.
Okay. Any objection to this one? Anybody want to talk about it? All right, seeing all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Finance renovation, $40,000. What about this one? Why not the rest of the departments?
Because the rest of City Hall has, for the most part, been taken care of. New over there, new back in Public Works. I shouldn't say the rest, I'm not sure about planning, but finance has not been touched in almost 30 years. We still have carpet that old. And this would be replacing carpet and making it a little more secure. I want to have badge in and out of the finance area. And I also would like to give the staff a little bit more privacy, because everybody just sits out in that big open area. And of course, we'd still be able to see the counter, but it's just woefully needs some renovation. And we actually even discussed keeping some of the desks that we use now, so we could probably cut some cost. And basically it'd be higher partitions, to give folks just a little bit more privacy in their work. So
Especially dealing with taxes.
yeah, we deal with a lot of sensitive information in finance, so it would that would just be helpful too. So
Any thoughts on this one? objections or?
Mayor, I don't have an objection to it. I know that that area, as a number of areas, probably need to be upgraded, but I wish we had a plan in place, at least in the very near future, of moving City Hall, or something of that nature. I hate the idea of spending $40,000 in a year from now, us moving to a location that we have thought about. But I also know that there's health concerns, and if nothing else, the nastiness that's on that carpet for 30 years is gross. So, you know, if it needs to be spent, it needs to be spent, but I hate the fact that we have languished in this building long enough.
Commissioner Thompson, if I may, that renovation is partitions and things that could be moved to a new location
Good.
should that happen.
Thank you.
The only thing would be the carpet, obviously,
Sure.
and we're gonna get, the goal would be to get carpet that can, you know, in this pieces, and you can pick it up and take it up and put something down in its place.
Great.
You know, for stains and things of that nature, but the other things could be moved.
Good.
There's not gonna be any
Thank
kind
you
of
for-
permanent walls or anything put in there.
We're not doing any mitigation on asbestos or anything.
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
That was nothing that Andy told me about,
Okay.
And
so.
that was an Andy estimate?
Yes, he's been working with us. Yes, he's actually the one that contacted the group that could come in and do the, you know, moving it around and all that good stuff, so, yeah.
All right, everybody okay with this one?
Yeah, just try to come in under budget.
Yeah.
I will try my best.
If you can do 30, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
30 would be better, aye.
30 would be better. Aye, double aye. Third down here. Aye.
Fire advanced trainer and disposable.
Yes,
Move
they
it
use
to-
for training.
Yeah, move it.
So I'll give it that one.
Yes.
Any, okay, that passes. Everybody say aye.
Aye.
Public Works, McClure Building.
Oh, my
sidewalk
goodness.
road. Now, this is a big expense. Let's,
It is a big expense,
Right.
Mayor, but I will also say that if
Gotta
the
do it.
McClure building topples,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a
Gonna
whole
be it.
lot more expense.
Mhm.
And there is a water seepage issue that I think is at issue. And, you know, I think there has been some talks about mitigating that, you know, in conjunction with the Duns. And I don't know if those, talks have necessarily gone, full circle, but we gotta get this done ASAP.
so, what's the timeline on this one? This year if we're putting it in, right?
So actually, Katie and Rob Moore have been helping us on this, where we've prepared the bid documents. So what we're gonna do is send it out for bid to actually get a very accurate cost. This estimate was from the structural engineers that we have hired, who did a report last year. So the next step would be to send it out for bid, see what it comes in at, and then propose a joint solution with the Duns at the McClure's building.
All right, Minnie? Everybody in favor of this one? Well, that's it.
Right, I think it's a
Yes.
need. It's a
All in
must.
favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
That's going. Stormwater projects needed to mitigate urban flooding.
Among other things.
Yeah, move to accept that. That has to
Okay.
be
Second.
done.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. New online program for business license application. It's exciting. Any?
Move
So
to
that
approve.
amount was not in your original,
Right.
budgeted amounts that you were provided in April. We just got that estimate, and I've let the person know that I was trying to get it into this budget if possible, if you agreed to it. But it would allow people to do online business license applications and pay online with a credit card.
Would this also allow for online payment of quarterly taxes?
No, not yet. The goal would be to phase in some other things that we could possibly do, but starting out right now, it would just be any new business license applications. We have to do it, you know, we gotta
Oh,
get
by
it
hand, I
built,
know,
and
I know.
then, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
But we do online property. You can pay,
well, property taxes.
yes, we can do,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah. But no,
As a
not,
small
not yet
business owner,
for,
paying
but not
48,000.
yet for occupational wage
Yeah.
taxes or net profit taxes.
Anything to put us online and get us moving in
Any,
the right
yeah, and I would
direction.
say, I think,
Mm.
I'm supportive of anything
Yes.
that you can do, that, particularly if you can
Yes.
pay on our Frankfort app, that'd be good too.
Mhm.
So, yes, all
Yes.
those in favor of that?
Yes.
Yes,
Aye.
aye.
Aye, great. All right, the rest on this list defer to a future budget. Is there anything that strikes anybody that we want to make sure we put in?
I will say that I believe that if we do move and we have the discussion about Fire Station 1 and some other things, I think that the potential of a local range could be incorporated into that. And I think the chief and I have discussed that as a potential as well, so.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I think that's one that we do need to look into. There's been a couple of complaints, and it is an older facility, and it was brought up in our last commission also, in regards to maybe doing something with the state police or teaming up with them and seeing what that looks like. So I think that's something that we could keep in mind as well.
It's on the short list.
Yeah, it is on a short list.
Okay, and,
So
we'll
does
go
that
back-
mean all those, or you agree that all those should be deferred? Is that to understand the motion?
Yes,
I think they
Yes.
should be diverted, and then we look and see what we save over time in the next 6 months after the budget's done, and if we feel that we can throw something in there, great. If things can be done with grants or other programs, great, but we can always amend.
Yeah, so as of now, just keeping track, we reduced, so far, capital expenditures by 300,000 off the, I think staff recommend, well, actually, no, never mind, because I'm confusing two lists. I'm gonna,
Okay.
We'll go back to.
we'll have to come back and provide that final amount, because we're moving through two different lists here. So
Okay.
now you wanna go back to
We
the
gotta go
garage
back to
pickup?
All the vehicles.
Yep.
on the next page.
Oh, that's the sanitation fee, isn't it?
If I may, in discussions with the commission, I've sat in on all these meetings. I guess in my mind, I'm thinking that because we're involved with NREL and, we wanna go greener, that the electric vehicles were something that you were very much interested in. So, but obviously just looking at gas versus vehicle or versus electric, especially if we do enterprise fleet management, because there is a little bit larger monthly cost, then obviously the gas, even when you factor in the gas for the gas vehicles, it does come in a little bit cheaper. Now, obviously that could also change because I used today's gas rate. If it goes up to, $5 a gallon, that would make a difference. It could become more, at the same rate or maybe even a little bit higher. It's just kind of hard because I just used what I had currently to do the comparison. So
Well, and to that
just
end,
so you know.
to that end, technology could catch up with regard to battery life and storage and
Right.
mineral usage and things of that nature as well, so
And I had a lot of questions. I don't want to use the word peppered at me the other night, but peppered at me the other night. And I tried to answer them all to the best of my ability. And I know I did not get Commissioner May's question answered because he asked about tax credit. Well, the tax credits are for individuals and businesses that file tax returns. I think actually may have answered his question. He and I discussed that earlier. So, and maybe there's something out there that the local governments can get, some kind of green energy grants or something. I didn't see anything like that in any of the research that I did.
So this doesn't factor in the possibility of $7,500 tax credit for the purchase of a
Well,
vehicle?
but
we won't
doesn't
get it 'cause
apply
we
to
don't
I
have
don't
it.
think
get
we
it, it's
would.
refundable though, right? Doesn't
It's
Well,
come
for
back to
people
us?
who file federal tax returns,
It's
and
on
we
tax
don't.
returns. We don't file tax returns.
I know that, but
I mean-
some of these come, but I don't know, can't you use it in some other way though?
Not that I saw.
Yeah.
That's why when I sent the email, I asked if anybody had any information I may have not had about maybe a city that qualified for something, and I think
Okay.
Commissioner May mentioned grants or something up in northern Kentucky, is that
Yeah,
correct?
they received grants for their, upgrading their, public transportation
Oh, it was the
vehicles.
buses.
The buses and things
Yeah.
for, to change that to EV.
And that actually makes sense because that's public transportation, so
Yeah.
that would make sense. But I didn't see, Mayor, I did not see anything in any of the research I did on that for cities.
But Enterprise doesn't do this analysis for us.
Well, they provided me with a link to some things to consider that I sent to you guys in your email, so probably like a Q&A kind of
But
thing,
we
the
can't
pros
ask
and
them for,
cons.
hey, we're considering a gas versus electric for this pickup truck, break down the differences for us.
I asked for that and was provided an email with a
With a link
link. Yes, sir,
For you
and
to
I
do
gave
your
that.
own research and analysis.
And I did a lot of my own research to try to figure out a cost per gallon of gasoline to the cost per, the
Hourly
equivalent.
charge.
Yeah.
So on,
Commissioner
so on the,
Sorry, no,
so on those,
Point of order.
he had his hand up,
Sorry.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I think it's important also, we're only talking about Enterprise's quotes. And we had a discussion earlier about when we
Correct.
go to buy vehicles, we don't have to buy from Enterprise. So if
We do not.
this is just analyzing the leasing options that we have available through Enterprise. So we may actually be able to get trucks, whether they're gas or electric, cheaper than
Right, and
than
we
what
do,
we have
yeah.
here. And I think that's,
Right.
something that we're also need to
Well-
factor in.
And Byron, he's, volunteered to be
Right.
our fleets manager, who's our solid waste superintendent. He has found other cheaper deals, and one was
Right.
previously for another solid waste truck. So we went with it. It was through Magnolia Bank. You guys
That
approved
was,
it. So we,
It was
we
a
do this
garbage
almost
truck.
like it could be like a placeholder. If we find someplace cheaper,
Right.
we'll buy it.
And actually, I did provide the purchase cost for each of these vehicles too, if you obviously wanted to go that route as well.
Okay.
I just know that when we went to Enterprise, the goal was to be able to get more vehicles each year to replace our very much aging fleet. So if we pay monthly and pay yearly, we can obviously get more vehicles at, I think, the cost.
Yeah.
If you went with the ones that I recommended, it's roughly a little over $86,000 for the year for those monthly lease payments versus $86,000 might only get you one or two trucks that the garage might need a truck, sanitation needs a truck, parks needs a truck, the fire department needs a truck, an SUV. So you can't get those four vehicles on the amount of money we would spend just to lease, right? With the Enterprise fleet. They just happen to be the people we have a contract with, to do this type of thing. So,
Commissioner Thompson?
When I look at these, I'm looking at the MSRP versus the invoice, and again, I understand, Commissioner May, that we may not have to utilize Enterprise. But I just want to make sure I understand, there's a $9,144 estimated my increase, yet everything is standard. And
so I actually asked that question, Commissioner May, because I figured someone would have that question for me. That is to allow for a new vehicle. So these quotes are with 2020. I'm sorry, Commissioner Thompson.
Oh, it's
sorry. It's been a long evening. Sorry.
I was down here thinking, what did I ask?
I know.
My apologies.
I don't have
So
flowing
that,
locks.
I asked that question of our enterprise fleet management person, and that's to allow for a markup from a 2023 model to a 2024 model. And these are just quotes, so it's possible that the quotes would come in lower than that. I know that all of the ones we got quoted last year, the actual price per vehicle came in a little lower than the quotes did. It's just a quote, and they have to factor in, I guess, markup for a newer vehicle. And that, I actually asked that because I had that same question. I was like, I don't know what that means, so I did ask that question.
So we looked at outside of Enterprise for all of these as well?
I took the information that Byron provided me, and I believe he worked pretty much exclusively with Enterprise Fleet Management.
So we don't know if we searched outside to see on this.
I don't think we did.
We only did on police vehicles, and we didn't find a better deal. We found a worse deal, so we didn't.
There's only so,
Include that.
there's only so, like, we have to buy them off of a, do we have to buy them off a state contract?
No,
We don't have to.
no, that's standard practice, but,
I understand.
And,
we
and
try to find the
actually,
cheapest.
and actually the state contract, if I can remember and explain it properly from what, Assistant Chief Napier told me, for police vehicles, there's no longer a state contract with a set amount.
Right.
There are 3 vendors, and you go to those vendors and you get quotes from those 3 vendors. And that's how you can buy off a state contract, but there's not a set amount anymore.
So
I think that was the way it was explained to me. I might be misinterpreting what he told me.
No, that was, I remember that, because like, most recently, the car that y'all just approved for us to buy, it's from Frankfort Ford, and we
Right.
compared state contract Frankfort Ford and one else, and that, we just went with the cheapest.
Yeah, there's a Chevy dealership somewhere, I don't remember which one it was, but I saw all those contracts
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Does that mean that the police department, they don't have to go through the state contract to be?
Correct.
You don't have to, but you would be bidding. So, by using state contract, you don't have to bid.
Okay,
And I know that our Assistant Chief Napier, he does a really good job of making sure that we are getting the best price we can
Oh,
for
I-
our police vehicles.
I trust
So,
that.
yeah.
I trust that.
Okay, so where are we? Do
So
we
if you
want
wanna-
to,
I think we're where we started.
we wanna, do we
We
wanna
table this?
move forward with this, table it to see if we can look at the other, look at the, do we have time to table this?
Can we?
Well, so if I may, if you want to table it, we don't include it in the budget, we can come back in July or August, because the other thing to consider too is that these vehicles have to be, well, actually, I don't know that that's even the best option either, because they need to be ordered and it takes a lot of months to get them in.
Well,
So after I was thinking about that, I'm thinking that might not be the best route to go, but I mean, I guess you could always say, you know, we can talk about the vehicles, we can do a budget amendment, and we can maybe buy some of these vehicles and not even fool
Yeah.
with the rest of them. You know, there's, I guess, other options to consider.
But
So-
re-
I do know that gas combustion engine cars are at least 90 to 120 days out, but EV vehicles and hybrid vehicles, I think, are 9 to 10 months out. Some crazy number like that. So, even if we set these monies aside right now, they may not be expended for a little bit.
Just to give you a for example, the police ordered 4 vehicles for the budget for this year. They ordered them as soon as they knew they were gonna be allotted 4, and they are just now getting them. So 10 months for of course, they have to be upfitted as well, but it did take almost 10 months.
So a quick question on the Excel spreadsheet, you have the payment amount, monthly payment amount, and then the purchase cost. Monthly payment amount, that's if we leased it through,
correct.
but what if we tallied up all that purchase cost? What would that be if we paid cash?
And I can add, do you want me to add it up for you?
If you do a
Is it
calculator.
9 times average of 52,000 or something? I mean, could we just say budget a certain amount?
That's what I was.
Well,
gonna
you
ask
mean,
about.
are you
That way
talking
we
about
have
the
it in
page one?
budget, and then we can decide one by one as we purchase these, right?
So, yeah, the
Yeah.
garage pickup, electric,
Mhm.
70,000, garage pickup, truck, crew cab, gas, 61,
That's about,
70, sanitation, Cove Springs is gas, 55,000, replacing a 1993 truck.
We don't need an IT or a finance vehicle.
We'll just won't be able to
That's
buy
good.
as many if we purchase it outright.
Commissioner Waldridge, if I may, on the finance vehicle, that is a vehicle that's already been used by 2 different departments before it came to us. We need the SUV to get things in and out of the back of the SUV because we go down to the post office and we go to the bank, obviously. The hatch on the back of it will not stay up. Our transmission is slipping in it.
Mhm.
It's got brake problems and it's got issues with the motor.
Okay.
So just
I
so you know.
understand, but that's something that, I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the police vehicle I'm asking for you to use for a little while to get us through this budget to save us $33,000 is a SUV with a big back and it can lift up and everything. And as long as it gets you where you need to go to the post office and back, I think it could save us about $33,000
Save
if
us
that's possible.
7,000.
Hmm?
So the payment over a year is 7,000.
Well, it would save us 7,000, but,
And I believe
and then we
there's
can look
some,
later to see if
there'll
that
be
needs to
some
be an
cost
electric vehicle
yeah,
later.
there actually are some costs also to making one of those police vehicles more like a normal vehicle. You have to spend some money to
Although it could
take.
be fun. You could come out and arrest people. You haven't paid your taxes.
I guess I could do that. Yeah.
That would be painting the vehicle.
I'm sorry.
That would be painting the vehicle.
No, okay. I don't know if we wanna go line by line through.
Mayor,
Yes.
But
if we were
tabling it.
if we were to
Yeah.
take the purchase cost of each of these vehicles, you're looking at a total of $545,000.
We would put that as a cap, and then and as, like, you take at least we have that in the budget, placeholder,
545.
for
Okay.
550.
Okay.
And then, now, some of these they may lease, but
Well, the recommended that we did with the total would be, is that the total? 86?
Yeah, that was the total.
For
if we
all
did-
those is 86,000.
But when you do the 2.8 staff recommended capital projects, does that include the purchase price of the
No,
vehicles?
it includes
The
the
lease.
monthly.
Okay, so
the
that,
monthly
out of that
leases.
2.8, only 187,000 is in that, right? So if we approve that, you follow what I'm saying?
No, sir.
So that 2.8 staff recommended capital projects, that's the vehicles are $87,000 of that, or
Correct.
$550,000?
87,000 of the
So see,
2.8.
if we approve the 550, we just
Yeah.
increased our capital.
Yeah.
Well, I
We're getting closer to that 3.8 million then.
I think, didn't one of you guys say you could put the 550 in there, and then as departments brought the request for vehicles to you, you could either, you
Purchase
could,
outright.
Right.
you
we
could do something different, or you could say, no, we can't do that right now.
Well, I think especially if we decide to end up switching these out for hybrid or electric vehicles, it only makes sense to lease them, because we just can't be stuck with a hybrid or electric vehicle that dies on us, and I think because of the cost. I would move that we allow for $75,000 annual payments on leases.
New leases.
New leases. I'll preface that. New leases, and however many vehicles they can get for that, and if they want to bring those to us and we can discuss it later, fine. But I would like to placehold $75,000.
Okay.
Basically these two.
Which would actually lower the.
So it may be, yeah. How you all feel about it? We looking for a second? Looking for a
I
second.
still need a little,
Second.
All right, second, Commissioner May. Thank
good
you.
job, Commissioner May.
Any discussion on this?
I mean, if we just put it up 12,000, we would approve exactly what staff brought to us. And that's the motion I made earlier, but I mean, it's not,
14,
Your
15.
motion was on the whole, everything, right?
yeah, yeah.
But and I
Well,
don't.
you're reducing it to 75K, I get that.
I'm reducing it to 75K because there's a couple vehicles on here. I think we can, as Commissioner Waldridge just says, we can recycle, reuse, hold off a little bit, but perhaps we get creative and city manager starts wheeling and dealing and gets all the vehicles. I don't know.
And I would say on this,
not my
you know, if,
forte.
whatever we decide on, whatever amount, you know, if it's equal or close, you know, just more, you know, of course we, electric or hybrid, whenever we have an option to save gas payments going forward. But if it's not at all cost. So we do have a goal the NREL goal, 2030, energy, but there's still some years left in that, and we have time for prices to go down on these cars. There's still time to meet that goal. I mean, obviously, we want to be sustainable if we could have, but we don't want to spend this much more to do it at this time in 2023. I think.
Right.
Well, we can budget for the 75,000 and then work with Enterprise Fleet to see what we can get for that amount. We should be able to get the majority of these, especially if we drop those electric vehicles down to gas. We could
Probably get them all.
could get obviously more, so we can come back to you with some suggestions and see what we can get for 75,000.
So each time we purchase one, you know
We can
which
bring
ones
it
we
to
need
you,
now,
yes, sir.
And then we can look
Yeah.
at that, vehicle by vehicle. Did you
Yep,
consider
we-
it electric
yeah.
and what like
Yeah,
that?
we can do that.
And if we get desperate, we can get another. We can up it. Okay.
Yep.
Call the question.
All those in favor? Oh, let's ask our clerk to call for a vote on this one, on all the vehicles to 75,000 annual lease.
On new leases.
On these.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes, and I would like to add that thank you for the research, for the questions. This is all, new to us. You're not an expert on electric
New
vehicles.
to me as well, yes.
So I really appreciate your time and
yeah,
effort.
well, thank you.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Look, I'm still here crunching numbers. I'm gonna say yes. It's a little over $11,000. I'd like it to be pushed, to save a little bit more than 15,000 if we get rid of the IT and the finance right now and use other vehicles. So I'm gonna say yes because it's close enough. But I'm hoping that we can use those just to get us through this budget year. My goal is to get us through this budget year.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. And that motion carries. That takes care of the vehicles for now.
And just last one. Revenue. As we've discussed with y'all the past year, back in 2012, the city of Frankfort had a $5 per month fee to pay for solid waste management services. As we've shared with you, everyone around us charges solid waste management fee. We need to find other sources for ongoing revenue, and staff would recommend that you restore and slightly increase the solid waste management fee to $6 per month per household.
I would, sorry,
Commissioner Thompson.
I would move to not accept that recommendation.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to not restore the solid waste management fee at this time. Any discussion on this? Commissioner Waters?
Why I second it was for discussion. But also, I agree with it because I just feel like right now we're so up in the air right now. We don't have all of our services, and I just think until we have a plan that we're going to be fully staffed and exactly what services we are going to give the community, I think we need that plan to be had before we start charging for something. Right now, it's just like we're just trying to charge for something, and the community to me is not going to be so receptive of that to not know what that $6 is going to go to a month, because right now they're looking at it like, well, you're charging us and you're not even picking up our tree stuff, right? And so I think we need to make sure that we have a plan moving forward on making sure that that area is fully staffed, and then we also need a plan on what we really want to offer as far as services, and then we come back to say what that is going to cost. If it's $6, great, but I think that it just needs to come up later when we have a plan. The community knows what they're going to get, and then that's a cost. Right now, the community's just up in the air.
Well, I would like to offer that we've actually done analysis to continue to offer all the services that we do right now. It'd be between $15 and $16 a month. So this is actually just a small portion of trash, recycling, leaf, bulk pickup, everything that we did up until 2 weeks ago. So obviously we're not starting off at that rate. We wanted to start off at something smaller because the community was used to paying for this in 2012. So as we look at our budget deficits, fee for service, this is a service that we've offered for many, many years.
Commissioner White?
What was the fee in 2012?
$5 a month.
Okay, so here's what my thinking is. I think sometimes we go to just a charge and we don't think through things. If in 2012 it was $5 and they stopped it for whatever reason, we weren't here. Whatever that reason is, it's not going to be $6 in between 2012 and
No.
2023. So I think we need to be feasible. The community needs to know that there is a fee that comes along with this pickup and for us to have these things. I don't think that we should just be throwing a number out there just to start collecting money from the community. If it needs to be a legit fee, then let's look at what that fee is, but we just need to know what the services it's going to cover. I foresee this as if we pass this and we're continuing on, the numbers that you guys presented to us and what that was going to look like as far as, I think it was $15 that was
15 to
presented at
16,
one time,
15,
something like that.
64 or something
So
like
when
that.
we're down to 12, I get it that you cut it in half, but there was a reason why it was going to be 15. And I think we need to make sure that we're making the best choice. So in a year or in 2 years, we're not trying to double this and then we're getting all frictional again. Let's just do what it needs to be done and see what fees we're going to do, raise these rates of people working in sanitation so we can get things going back, come to us with one great thing and not just be like, well, we're just going to chip and go at, the residents and we'll just get $6. We're not going to get 15 right now, but then it leaves us or whoever's sitting in these chairs in a couple of years to reassess that again. And I just think the community is just tired of going back and forth. Let's have a plan. Let's get that moving in the right direction and then present it and we stick to our guns on that. That's
Great.
just me.
I'll have Katie, it's on a similar vein from what she presented last
Mhm.
year, that of what we can do and we can update it.
Mhm.
But we also thought that $6 would be actually a little bit more feasible and affordable for
Mhm.
people and start out small before you build up to something between $15 and $16, which is the true cost
Correct.
of our services.
Anyone else?
Did you have a
Commissioner-
question?
No.
Commissioner Thompson?
I think this is a great opportunity for us to, whenever we have our meeting with the county,
This is on the agenda.
it should be on the agenda. Because I think that, the county, third parties this out. I think there's a significant amount of savings that are made because of that. I would, that's part of the reason for my, my motion at this point to not take this, recommendation. And I'll leave it at that. So that's where I am right now.
And so how would we collect this fee if we implemented it?
I believe finance collected it before.
We're
It
gonna
would
send an
be,
invoice to everyone?
I think so, but, that's
I think that's what they do.
You
Yeah,
could do
that-
property tax, you could do third-party separate, number of different ways.
yeah, we
Well-
could get someone to bill and collect for us as well, so.
That would be
I'd rather not send a separate bill.
A cluster.
yeah.
10,000. So 10,400 households, that's how many we,
That was, I think that's what Katie provided us, that was the number
Yeah.
of households.
It would raise $6, $748,800.
any other discussion? I do think that it would be, because the county doesn't charge anything as well, right?
No,
Correct.
We're the only, all the other surrounding communities, let's make that clear to
Everyone
everyone who's
else
watching,
does,
because
yeah.
we've had it good for a long time
Yes.
Yes.
here in Frankfort.
Yes.
And now that we've had to temporarily suspend some
Oh.
services, we've seen, people realize how important this is. And I think, the county doesn't charge. This is an opportunity for us to see what what we can work together on, maybe, and see if there's opportunities for cost sharing, cost savings, maybe. If we implement a fee, maybe they could, maybe they would want to.
I think the county pays like 1.6 or 1.8 million to their contractor to do
And
this.
so, and ours is about 1.9.
Correct.
Yeah,
Which incidentally is-
roughly 2 million.
So it's the
Yeah.
same
So,
amount as our deficit
And then
about 2
Yes.
weeks ago.
And then of course you take away a lot of other costs that don't go into that. But we understand that we're the only city that doesn't charge this tax, but we have the highest county and city property tax rates in the Central Kentucky area. Trust me, I looked them up, and we're at, when you add them together,
We got that, that's,
yeah, yeah. When you look them up, when you add them together, it's 37 cents on the dollar.
actually, city-wise,
If we
that
take
would say
schools
it's
and
a difference
everything.
between what is collected for the schools, which we of course do not receive, and what is for the city.
I agree. I'm not putting it all on the city. I mean, I included the county in that as well, and also included in that is are the schools as well. But our folks that we are, the representatives of, they're paying a lot of taxes, a lot of property tax, and the values of their homes aren't necessarily what the values of the homes in other areas are either. We have lowest property values too. So I think, it's all well and good to say we should pay $72, a year to do this, but we're already paying significantly more than that in property taxes. So that's, Scott County's 12. You add their 6 and their 6.5. They pay 12.5%. We're at 37 or 38 cents on the dollar.
I want to fact, not that I don't trust Commissioner Thompson.
Fact check me.
Seriously, we have a motion to, essentially to table this for the time being, to not take the recommendation to restore and increase solid waste management. Any other discussion? We have a second. You want to ask our clerk to call for a vote?
I just have one thing, in regards to this, I think as we table this and we discuss this, we need to take in consideration our small businesses that do not deal with food, such as law offices, people like that, that usually only have like a lot of paper that could be recycled. I think the average office right now pays about $186 to $204 a month for trash pickup from a private service. It may behoove us to look to see how we can make they're cheaper for law offices and people that just really have paper to be able to pick up maybe at a lower rate than what they're charging, and it's like sitting right next to a house, so it's easy for us to pick up. And that may be able, if we can lower it for them, it may be more revenue for us to come in. That may be something, not other trash, but, small companies like that.
If I can add, I just pulled this up, sorry, I didn't have this
Sure.
memorized. So, Frankfort's city-only real property tax, 19.6. Lawrenceburg is 19.5. Georgetown, you're right, 6.5. Shelbyville is 27, and they also charge a solid waste management fee.
But what's their county on top of it? Because if I live in the city, I'm paying a city and a county tax.
Right.
And I said, I'm not putting all this on the county.
I was just looking at cities.
I understand. I'm not putting it all on the city. I'm saying, if I'm a resident of the city of Frankfort, I'm paying more property tax when you take the county, the city, the schools, everything, than any of the surrounding counties. And other communities, like Shelbyville, is at about 29% if you add the two of them together. So, and again, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's identical. So
Let's
I think
figure all
we're.
that out later. Let's, we've got a motion and a second, and
Call
let's
question.
ask our city clerk to call for to not restore the fee at this time.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Mayor Roberson?
Yes, and that motion carries, and that, I believe, is the end of the budget,
Whew.
up and down
Made it.
votes. Is that right? I know there's some other items to note, but
I'm
I
here.
hope
We
I
need
can
to
get
vote.
all this
we need
correct.
to vote on those tonight. We don't. Those other items to note.
No, those are just things that came around as we were working on this, and those are, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
It's all,
My
this is the fun
pleasure.
stuff, right?
Thank you, Alicia.
Thanks.
All right,
Thank
do we,
you so
have any
much.
unfinished business before we can, yes, Commissioner Waters?
Yes, my question is for, actually, Miss Katie, she's already in here. She's like, I know somebody's gonna bring up something. So I just wanted to try to get an update in where we are with waste management after hiring the 3 people. I believe it was last week. I don't know how long it takes to get people trained. I know that you said that since May 5th, the things have been picked up if they requested it. I know my street has not been picked up because the people across still have piles of trees and clippings. But where does it look like that we're getting back on track for services to start back in full again if we are almost at capacity as far as our staffing?
Yeah. I'm hoping it'll just be a few weeks. My
Okay.
main target in the beginning was mid-June, so I'm
Okay.
still hoping for that. And we did pick up about, I think it was about 50 or 60 work orders that we had on brush pickup.
Okay.
There were other places that had brush out that we didn't have a work order for. So there may be
Okay.
some, like you said, your
Mhm.
street may have some. But we've made a lot of progress in the last week. We were able to borrow some help from the street department.
Good.
So that we didn't have to contract that out and saved
Mhm.
us about $4,000 or so.
Okay.
But we've also got some help with the street department on switching out carts, because we do have a number of work orders for cart changeouts as well.
Okay.
And then we do have some new hires. One of them didn't work out, but 2 of the 3 worked out, and I think they did more interviews, and we've got some more lined up to start next Tuesday. So
Okay.
hopefully we will be at capacity at that point, and
Mhm.
the training will go fairly quickly, and we'll get back to where we need to be. So I'm hoping in the next few weeks, no promises made, but hopefully in the next few weeks we'll be able to talk about reinstating services.
And my-
You were calling upon-
My follow-up is, I also want to just say thank you to you and your whole department. There's been a lot of emails come out that has fell in your department rim. You guys have gotten back with us on emails as far as the commission is concerned and some of those issues, and you followed up on them. You've gotten back with us, so just appreciate even though you've been down on staff, you've been getting things done in the community that they've had issues, and I just want to thank your department on that, so. And also
No
planning
problem.
and zoning, I know it's not your department. but-
Pass it along.
Planning and zoning also has been doing well and getting back with people in all their emails, and it's a long list, but we are all on them, and just want to say thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Thompson?
Are we in new business or unfinished business?
Unfinished?
Unfinished.
You got a new business?
I think it probably fits right in between them, honestly. I'd like to make a motion on something if you'll allow me to. Mayor, I would move to immediately reinstate all garbage services citywide. I think that the commission is empowered with the ability to implement services and procedures. I think the city manager is empowered to operate those efficiently, and I don't know how these got canceled, but I would ask that, I would move that we immediately reinstate all of the services that were temporarily, quote-unquote, suspended.
I'll second for discussion, if you'd like, you would.
Well, I'd like to, I'd like to bring Katie, and is this something that we can handle? Is there a reason you all recommended to suspend?
Yeah, there are, obviously. We're making progress in the right direction. I think that we did for a reason, and I think we're close to getting back to full service. I'll also say some of this results from, as I talked about, unprecedented storms that we got, and we just weren't prepared for that volume of brush. We've also been talking internally about making some proposals to the boards on some additional changes. When we do reinstate services, we'd like to have people schedule those services so that we don't get out of control again, and we'll know what we can handle, and we'll tell people, we may not get to you this week, don't put your brush out until next week, and things like that. So obviously totally up to the board as to how you want to proceed, but that would be my only comments on it.
What about the bulk pickup? I mean, are we prepared for that?
The bulk pickup on single items on their regular trash day, again, I think I would like to schedule those. I'd just
So-
like to have them, and that'll be an adjustment, a transition for people to get used to calling in. And so we're not gonna just leave things on the side of the road, but to transition to that point where we could get them to call in and let us know, I've got a mattress, I've got a chair, I've got whatever, so.
Commissioner Waters?
I had spoke with Commissioner Thompson before the meeting in regards to this, because it is a concern. A lot of people, have been writing in and emailing us in this concern, and that was, I spoke to him, and that may be a motion that I wanted to make tonight. But I think once you gave me the update of saying where we are, that we are moving in the right direction, I did not want to then move to that because I felt like you as a director knew in the direction we were going. This is what you handle every single day. And like they shared earlier, I don't want this to be another disaster. And yes, this all started, I think, rolling with the storm.
Yeah.
And I think when we look at June right now, it's not really that far out. It's like 2.5 weeks. And I just, if you have a plan, I just would like the plan to be in place by then. And to use the app more if that's where people need to put in requests through the app and be able to communicate where you're at, where you're located, or what you may be able to pick up. So
Yeah, and
I'm okay with that because it's only like a couple of weeks, and I don't want to. I mean, I do want the things to pick up by all means, but I just want to make sure that you're able to handle that as far as your staff is concerned. And then you have 2 more people coming in as well. So I just want to make sure you're fully staffed and able to do that. And I don't want to put that on your department right now, and then people start complaining again that they're getting skipped over, if that means.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I do rely a lot on Byron, so I'm hesitant to say 100%, yes, we are ready.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're getting there and we're going in the right direction.
And I just want to add that residents can pick up overflow bags at Kroger's. They're just $1 a piece. You can, anything that doesn't fit into your cart, you can use an overflow bag, and we've recommended that to others. Maybe you have grass clippings or something like that and you can't fit them into your cart, because you can also put that in your cart. You can pick up overflow bags. They're there right in the trash section at Kroger's. They're nice blue bags. Residents can use that as well at this time. Yes, ma'am.
FYI, they're not nice blue bags. They've been downgraded since they came to the thing, and so they're horrible. They're almost as worse as the black bags. I mean, maybe a little bit better, but since then the grade of that bag has decreased, and most people are wondering why we're using black bags when Hefty is almost as thick as what we're using, because when we did get them, they were really thick, held a lot of stuff. Raccoons weren't able to get in them. Now we're down with almost a see-through bag, and people are just understanding Hefty is almost better than what they have. So
I'm glad you brought that up. That's
Yes.
honestly one of those things with everything else that kind of slips through the cracks. I know during
Yep.
COVID, we couldn't get the nice bags anymore, and we settled for what we could get. So we'll look
Yep.
into that and see
That'd be
what's,
great.
what the
Thank
options
you.
are.
So, okay, so we have a motion to immediately restore the services in a second. Katie, feel like in June we might be back up? All those, do you want to, any discussion on this, or
I-
you want to keep that out there?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. I want to vote on restoring it. My issue is we want them to use the app more. We want them to schedule things. We have one of the oldest populations in Central Kentucky. My dad calls me when he can't figure out how to get on his email on his phone, right? We can't expect a majority of people who don't have Facebook, who don't watch city commission meetings, who don't read the state journal, sorry, no offense, but to know what's going on. And this is a surprise for a lot of people. And I understand that they've lived well and, they've had it good for a long time. I get it. But I think there's a lot. I think when you have zero growth in a community, there's a reason. And if we're not providing the services that we have always provided, and we are not willing to figure out a method to continue to provide those services, then we have people wondering why they are living in our community. And I just feel like we need to.
They're figuring it out, and they say that they're going to have a plan. We can vote on it tonight to restore it, but they're not
Every other
gonna
community-
yes, let's vote to restore it, but then they can only do as much as they can do.
That's fine. Every other community had storms. County had storms. They haven't cut off any services. I mean, it's just we are not providing the same level of service that we were for the same amount of taxes that
And
people
some
pay.
of this was, I think, what I've told people, we used to have inmates that we really relied on, right? We had
Yeah, and it's a
access
perfect
to-
storm. We had the storm happen, then we had 4 people out on injuries, and we had 2 trucks break down. and then we're really short-staffed. It's not intentional. It's not intentional whatsoever. And I think that, you know, other communities are providing those services. Some of them are contracted out. Georgetown and other places have privatized that out. I know that the county is looking at, they are changing to recycling just every 2 weeks because you can't afford to keep the service. So with staffing wise, I mean, it was just a perfect storm where we had the storm, we had all the debris, we had people leave, and then we had injuries. There was nothing intentional about not wanting to provide the service. And I just want to make that clear. We have to keep the safety of our staff. If we don't have enough staff to run the trucks, we can't, you know, we're still picking up trash and recycling, which are key. But if we don't have the staff and we can't make sure that they're safe and picking it up and not running 12 hours a day, unfortunately, we chose what we thought would be the least disruptive. We didn't want to disrupt any service, but these were we thought were the least disruptive to our community. And we hope that they understand because we're working through this. And we are, as Katie said, going in the right direction. It just can't happen on a dime.
I disagree with that because we ended it on a dime. And we had a meeting on a Monday night, and we didn't even discuss this. And on Tuesday morning, we get notification that this service has been terminated. And there was no warning to the public. There was no, you know.
We gave more than 10 days notice. There was a warning.
I think that warning was as valuable as the parking warning. But the reality is that these are services that we have always provided. These are services that other communities have provided, and the least interruption to folks would have been to figure out some way to do it. And that's, maybe we have to have temporary services. Maybe we have to borrow from other areas. And
Crown Services will not allow us to hire their temps to do the work. We tried, but they've stopped it because one of their temporary employees got injured and had a workers' comp claim. So it's not allowed. Inmates not allowed.
Is Crown Service the only employer that we're allowed to work with?
Was the only one available who actually will do that type of work.
Okay. I think we're just at a juxtaposition here where you even said, I hope the community understands. I mean, I can tell you they don't. And it's not the city manager's office that gets the brunt of that. They want to know from the city manager's office.
Yes, we do. Yes, Belinda Markham, by the way, you can call Belinda, who I actually think has taken the most calls, and she answers all the phones every day in Public Works. And she has been wonderful, calm, cool, and collected, and helping. We've all been getting calls as well. It's all of us together, the commissioners, city staff, all of us together have been receiving the calls and working very hard to address every single one of them.
I think it would have been great if we had known ahead of time that this was coming down the pike. And while everyone may be feeling that they received the equal brunt of it, quite honestly, we're the ones who have to be on the ballot. And those are the things that we have to represent the folks here in Frankfort and deal with that. And while it may be hard and it may be difficult, you know, if I have 3 people who are sick in my office, we're still open, even if that means I'm the only one there. And I think that goes for every other business in town. And I know we've said this before, we're not a business. We should be run like one. And that means that we offer the same amount of services for the same quality and the same price every time. And this was not something that came before the commission, and yet we received the surprise just like everybody else did. And that's why I feel like we have to at least make the motion to start the services back up.
We got a motion, we have a second.
What's the motion for?
Restoring all this waste management services immediately. I mean, we could vote, all right, let's ask clerk to call for a vote.
Okay. Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
No, but I think staff has got us moving in the right direction to restore services very soon.
Commissioner Waldridge?
gonna say no. I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and if there hadn't been a light given to us tonight at the end of the tunnel, I probably would have requested it, but I appreciate moving forward.
Commissioner May?
No, I will wait until the department has the necessary personnel to operate safely and effectively, without strangleholding other departments as well to pull people around.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Well, let me say, I do appreciate Commissioner Thompson's points.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we want to provide the best possible service continuously, and we don't want to take things away from people that are already getting it, particularly those people who may not know what we're doing. We didn't properly explain it maybe, or say what we were going to do. But I appreciate what the Public Works Department's doing. I do feel like, I think the point's made, right? We want to do this as soon as possible. I'm going to vote no and not force you to do it tonight, but pretty soon we'd love to see it restored. So June, so that motion fails. Is there any other new business now?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Walden.
You know, and just sort of to tag on, like, I understand, you know, we're talking about the apps and things. Just know that, you know, there is a concern because we do try to get information out. And the perfect time for getting that information out, to what Commissioner Thompson was sharing, is that it should have been announced at that meeting. And that's sort of what was coming up. So we could have known what was going on. A lot of people watch our meetings. But that also leads to the app, you know, like the warning system. When the issue at the transportation cabinet occurred, you know, that's what our systems are for us to receive it. We may not know exactly what was going on. There were rumors going all over town of everything going on during that time. People were on high alert. They were scared for family members. We were scared for our community. And I think just a simple text going out to every single person in our community just to say stay away from the area would have been great, because there were so many people down there literally going down just to get on Facebook and put live. And if it had been another way, they could have put themselves in harm, danger, and because no one really knew what was going on, so people were coming down. And I think we need to widen that spread with, you know, when we talk about that, and maybe the mayor will sit in that meeting, that, you know, if that like happens again, we need to make sure that that circle is wider to make sure people are not getting as close. They were literally on the sidewalk right across the street from where we thought there could have been a gunman. And so I think we need that to go out, and we need to start communicating more with our community. I mean, just on Facebook here now, people are like, well, can't they do a city drop off somewhere? And I'm like, we have city drop off. We've been saying where you can drop off your things. Well, people still right now on Facebook Live still have no clue that there's a drop off. So how we get that out, I'm not sure. If people would download the Waste app, isn't it called Frank Waste? Frank Waste. It's an app on your phone, and put in your address. It tells you when you pick up, when you're not, and things like that. Please download the app. It will help a whole lot. And then just my second, it has nothing to do with waste, but, you know, just going out to our community. Our community is truly hurting right now. And I've been fighting back tears here because my son went, you know, for a balloon release for one of his friend's brothers who passed away. And our community's hurting. We've had young people committing suicide in our community. We have people that are dying. And I just ask that reach out to your neighbors. Mental health is real. And we continue to push it in this community. And I ask that you reach out to your friends and your family and care about each other, and just check on one another. Reach out, give a hug, because there's people as young as our children that are taking their lives, that are hurting, whether it's bullying or anything. Like, we need to love on our kids and each other. And so I just ask that you reach out to someone tonight, love on your kids and hug them, sit down at a dinner and talk to them one-on-one, because mental health is real. And it looks different for every single person. So please take the time and love on those and tell those people that you love them, and just be there, because it's just really hurting seeing these young people die more and more. And I don't want it to be my kids, and I don't want it to be yours. So please check on your kids and talk to your kids. Thank you.
Just
Commissioner Thompson.
two things earlier when we came back from the closed session. I think there was an audio issue. Just wanted to say that we became aware of during the meeting that there was a Scott County Sheriff's deputy that was shot in the line of duty, and we just got word that we found out that he passed, and that that community's gonna be hurting. They do have the individual now, but, it's, we're praying for all of our brothers and sisters in blue who are, you know, hurting tonight. And I'll end on an up note. Brooklyn Miles has just announced she's transferring to the University of Kentucky. So, Brooklyn
Go
Miles is
Cats.
coming home. So,
Any other new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Whew.